Beneath the scorching sands of time lies a world shrouded in secrets, an ancient civilization whose achievements continue to defy explanation. For thousands of years, Egypt's towering pyramids, cryptic hieroglyphs, and enigmatic relics have whispered riddles that science has yet to unravel. What hidden knowledge did they possess? How did they align colossal monuments with the stars so precisely? And what truths are encoded in the walls of tombs that remain sealed to this day? These mysteries challenge our understanding of history, physics, and human capability. From lost technologies that vanish without a trace, to symbols that hint at cosmic connections beyond our comprehension, the ancient Egyptians beckon us to question everything we think we know. Over the next 3 hours, we will journey beyond the surface, into forbidden chambers, forgotten texts, and astonishing discoveries that science can't fully explain. Prepare to confront the unknown, to see the past through a lens of wonder and intrigue. So sit back, relax, and let's dive deeper into the mystery. The Great Sphinx of Giza sits in silent vigil beneath the blazing Egyptian sun, a colossal guardian carved from limestone that has endured the harsh desert winds for over 4 millennia. Its massive body stretches eastward, a lion's powerful form with the enigmatic visage of a pharaoh gazing toward the rising sun. Perched on the Giza Plateau alongside the pyramids, the Sphinx commands awe and curiosity alike. Despite its imposing presence, much about this ancient monument remains cloaked in mystery, particularly the possibility of hidden chambers beneath its immense frame. The Sphinx is no mere statue. It is a puzzle etched in stone, its origins and purpose the subject of countless studies and debates. Historical records, including inscriptions and ancient texts, tell us that the Sphinx was carved during the reign of Pharaoh Khafra, around 2500 BCE, intended as a symbol of royal power and divine protection. Yet, the exact methods used to carve such a monumental figure, the rationale behind its location, and its possible subterranean secrets continue to perplex Egyptologists. For decades, explorers and researchers have speculated about chambers and tunnels concealed beneath the Sphinx. Early 20th century archaeological expeditions unearthed passages leading under the monument, but their full extent and function remain uncertain. Some chambers appear natural, carved by erosion, while others hint at human construction. Are these merely storage spaces or symbolic corridors designed for rituals lost to time? Or could they harbor artifacts or inscriptions that would revolutionize our understanding of ancient Egypt? Geophysical surveys and ground-penetrating radar have suggested anomalies beneath the Sphinx, voids and cavities that defy straightforward explanation. Yet, attempts to penetrate these spaces with modern technology have been cautious and limited, constrained by preservation concerns and the sheer fragility of the monument. What secrets might lie behind these shadows? Could they be hidden libraries of knowledge, forgotten tombs, or ancient vaults preserving relics long buried? Theories abound, ranging from plausible to speculative. Some scholars propose that the hidden chambers might have served as symbolic gateways to the afterlife, mirroring beliefs in subterranean realms where the soul journeys after death. Others suggest that these spaces could be linked to star alignments or astronomical observations, aligning with the Sphinx's orientation toward the constellation Leo, a celestial symbol associated with rebirth and kingship. Still, fringe theories even propose that the chambers hold evidence of advanced ancient technology or knowledge lost to history, though such ideas remain outside mainstream archaeology. What is certain is that the erosion patterns on the Sphinx's body and surrounding enclosure walls hint at a far older origin than once thought, perhaps predating Khafra by thousands of years. If true, this would dramatically alter our timeline and understanding of Egypt's early history. Such a revelation would raise profound questions about the builders and their capabilities. Could the hidden chambers be remnants of an earlier civilization's secrets, carefully concealed beneath the visage of a later pharaoh? Visitors today stand before the Sphinx, often captivated by its sheer scale and haunting expression, yet unaware of the enigmatic depths that may lie beneath. The monument's gaze, carved with inscrutable intensity, seems to challenge us, inviting contemplation on time, legacy, and the mysteries that endure despite millennia of human inquiry. What might future explorations uncover in these hidden chambers? Will they reveal sacred texts or tools of forgotten rituals? Or will they keep their silence, guarding secrets that may forever elude us? As the sun sets over the Giza Plateau and shadows lengthen across the ancient stones, the Sphinx remains a sentinel of history's most enduring enigma, its hidden chambers a quiet testament to mysteries still waiting to be unveiled. Beyond the towering monuments and the enigmatic gaze of the Sphinx lies another realm of ancient Egyptian wonder, delicate, fragile scrolls of papyrus, whispering secrets across millennia. These ancient manuscripts, painstakingly inscribed by skilled scribes, are often overlooked in favor of stone and granite, yet they hold a treasure trove of knowledge. Within their fibrous surfaces may be found blueprints, not merely of buildings or statues, but of ideas and technologies that science has yet to fully decipher. Egyptian papyri are among the oldest written records in human history. Composed from the pith of the papyrus plant, these scrolls carried everything from poetry and religious hymns to medical instructions and mathematical calculations. Yet, interspersed among these texts are diagrams, schematics, and geometric patterns that hint at far more sophisticated knowledge than once assumed. One such example is the famed Rhind mathematical papyrus, a document dating back to around 1650 BCE. Here, we encounter an impressive collection of arithmetic and geometry problems, revealing not only the Egyptians' advanced understanding of mathematics, but also their capacity for precise measurement and engineering. Could these writings represent early blueprints for architectural marvels such as the pyramids or the intricate canal systems? The precision with which they approached measurement suggests an advanced technical mind at work. But how exactly did this translate into the physical feats seen in Egypt's monuments? Delving deeper into these papyri, scholars have identified intricate drawings that appear to map out layouts resembling temples, tomb chambers, and irrigation schemes. These diagrams are not merely artistic embellishments. They convey structural knowledge, proportions, and alignments that mirror the grandeur of the physical structures themselves. Yet, some illustrations defy easy categorization, showing enigmatic shapes and symbols whose purposes remain obscure. One particularly puzzling aspect is the presence of repeated geometric motifs that seem to encode more than just architectural data. The recurring use of sacred geometry, shapes like the vesica piscis, the golden ratio, and complex polygonal figures, suggests the Egyptians imbued their designs with spiritual or cosmic significance. Did these blueprints serve dual roles as both technical manuals and mystical guides? Were the architects not only engineers but also priests who sought harmony between earthly constructions and celestial order? Such questions naturally lead to intriguing theories. Some researchers propose that these papyri might contain knowledge of ancient technologies lost over time. Could the Egyptians have possessed machinery or methods for cutting and moving massive stones with a precision that modern science struggles to replicate? While no direct evidence of such tools has been found, the consistency and complexity of the blueprints imply a level of technical sophistication that surpasses the simple tools traditionally credited to ancient workers. The debate becomes even more fascinating when considering certain papyri that hint at concepts resembling advanced engineering principles. For example, some sketches include what appear to be pulley systems, counterweights, or water-based mechanisms. These ideas, if interpreted literally, challenge conventional narratives of how the pyramids and temples were built. Yet, caution is necessary. Symbolism and metaphor often intermingle with practical diagrams in ancient texts, complicating straightforward interpretation. Further complicating the mystery is the fact that many papyri survive only in fragments, scattered across museums and private collections worldwide. The incomplete nature of these documents means that we may be seeing only glimpses of a far more comprehensive body of knowledge. Assembling these pieces is like reconstructing a puzzle with missing sections, where every new find can shift our understanding. One cannot overlook the tantalizing possibility that some of these blueprints encoded astronomical knowledge intertwined with construction. The ancient Egyptians were keen observers of the stars, aligning their monuments with celestial bodies and cycles. Could the papyri's geometric patterns be star maps, calendars, or instructions for capturing cosmic energies through architecture? The interplay between mathematics, astronomy, and spirituality in Egyptian culture invites speculation that these blueprints operated on multiple levels: scientific, symbolic, and religious. While mainstream Egyptology recognizes the advanced mathematical and engineering skills evident in the papyri, fringe theories venture further. Some suggest these documents might be remnants of a lost civilization's wisdom, or even hints of extraterrestrial contact, ideas that remain controversial and unsupported by solid evidence, yet persist due to the enduring allure of the unexplained. What is undeniable is that the papyri stand as silent witnesses to a civilization that blended artistry with science, faith with function. They challenge us to rethink the boundaries between myth and reality, between the possible and the mysterious. Each line drawn, each symbol etched onto these fragile scrolls beckons us toward a deeper understanding that still eludes our grasp. As we continue our journey through the enigmas of ancient Egypt, the blueprints hidden within these papyri serve as a reminder that beneath layers of sand, stone, and time, the ancients left clues not only carved in monuments, but inked in delicate fibers, waiting patiently for us to decode their meaning. What truths might these enigmatic blueprints reveal, if only we learn to read their language fully? The mystery remains, an invitation to wonder and explore the depths of knowledge lost and yet to be rediscovered. As twilight fades over the vast Egyptian desert, the night sky emerges, a deep canvas punctuated by stars that have guided humanity's gaze for millennia. Among these celestial bodies, ancient Egyptians saw not just distant lights, but divine symbols, living myths, and a cosmic order intricately woven into their world. Their monuments, temples, and tombs stand not merely as relics of stone, but as deliberate markers in a grand celestial design. The ancients encoded their beliefs, their science, and perhaps their very destiny into the alignment of stars, creating a code that challenges modern understanding. The notion that ancient Egyptians aligned their monuments with stars is well documented and forms a foundational part of Egyptology. The Great Pyramids of Giza, for example, are famously oriented with remarkable precision toward the cardinal points, north, south, east, and west. Yet this geometric exactness extends beyond simple terrestrial direction. Many researchers point to alignments with specific stars, particularly those belonging to the constellation Orion and the star Sirius. The Great Pyramid's shafts, for instance, appear to point toward these celestial bodies, which held profound symbolic meaning in ancient Egyptian cosmology. Orion was associated with Osiris, the god of rebirth and the afterlife, while Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, was linked to Isis, the goddess of fertility and motherhood. Their cyclic rising and setting marked important seasonal events, such as the annual flooding of the Nile, a life-giving event that defined Egyptian agriculture and survival. By embedding these stellar alignments into their architecture, the Egyptians effectively merged earthly existence with cosmic cycles, reflecting a worldview where the heavens and the earth were inseparably connected. But the story grows more complex as we consider the deeper astronomical knowledge seemingly possessed by the Egyptians. Beyond the well-known alignments, there are suggestions that the layout of the Giza Plateau itself replicates the three stars of Orion's belt, a theory popularized in the late 20th century and known as the Orion correlation theory. According to this idea, the relative positions and sizes of the three main pyramids correspond closely to these stars' arrangement in the sky around 2500 BCE, the estimated time of the pyramid's construction. Is this an intentional cosmic map carved into the desert, or merely a coincidence? Critics argue that the correlation is imprecise and that pyramid placement was likely influenced by practical and geographical considerations. Yet, the persistence of this idea fuels ongoing debate. If intentional, what was the ancient Egyptians' purpose in replicating the heavens on Earth? Was it a form of worship, an astrological tool, or a symbolic bridge connecting mortals to gods? Exploring the Egyptian approach to astronomy further, we find a sophisticated understanding of celestial cycles. The ancient priests used star charts and instruments like the Merkhet, a sighting tool, to track stars with astonishing accuracy. They divided the night sky into decans, groups of stars that rose sequentially over 10-day intervals, which were used to measure time during the night and formed the basis for their calendar. Such meticulous observation suggests not only religious reverence, but also practical applications in agriculture, navigation, and ritual. Yet certain aspects of these alignments remain elusive. The shafts within the Great Pyramid, for example, do not simply point to Orion or Sirius, but to stars whose precise identities and symbolic meanings are debated among scholars. Some shafts align with stars like Thuban, which was the pole star at the time, anchoring the pyramid in a cosmological context beyond the obvious. This raises questions. Were these alignments purely symbolic, or did they serve a functional role in ancient Egyptian rituals or beliefs about the afterlife? Intriguingly, the alignment of monuments and temples across Egypt follows a pattern that is difficult to attribute solely to chance. The Temple of Karnak, for instance, is oriented toward the rising sun at the winter solstice, while the Osirian at Abydos aligns with the setting sun at the summer solstice. The precise way these structures relate to solar and stellar events suggests an integrated cosmic calendar, one that may have governed religious ceremonies and political power. But how did the Egyptians achieve such precision? Without telescopes or modern tools, the accuracy of their astronomical knowledge is remarkable. Some theorists propose that this mastery hints at lost knowledge, or technologies that modern science has yet to fully understand. Were there ancient observatories or undiscovered instruments that allowed Egyptians to chart the heavens with such detail? Or did their insights emerge purely through patient observation and generations of accumulated wisdom? Moving into more speculative territory, a number of fringe theories attempt to connect Egyptian star alignments with broader cosmic mysteries. Some suggest that the pyramids and temples encode messages intended for future civilizations or even extraterrestrial visitors. Proponents of these ideas point to anomalies in the structure's alignments or symbolic motifs resembling star maps, proposing that ancient Egyptians possessed an advanced cosmic knowledge far beyond current archaeological consensus. While these hypotheses remain controversial and largely unsupported by mainstream scholarship, they reflect the enduring allure of the Egyptian sky and the desire to unlock its secrets. After all, the sky itself is a vast ancient archive, one that preserves the rhythms of time, the movements of distant worlds, and perhaps messages from our ancestors embedded in stone. The question then becomes, what is the nature of the code in these star alignments? Is it a straightforward calendar, a religious metaphor, a political statement, or something more enigmatic? Does the cosmic design reveal a worldview where the boundary between heaven and earth is blurred, a vision of life, death, and rebirth woven into the very fabric of the universe. Archaeologists and astronomers continue to study these alignments, deploying modern technology such as 3D modeling, satellite imagery, and computer simulations to recreate ancient skies and test hypotheses. Each discovery adds nuance, revealing that the ancients were not only builders but also profound observers of the cosmos, architects of meaning whose work still speaks to us across the ages. Yet, despite the advances in research, the mystery endures. The exact purpose, full extent, and deeper meaning of the Egyptian celestial code remain tantalizingly out of reach, an open question inviting us to ponder the connection between the stars and human destiny. As we peer into the night sky, following the path once charted by ancient priests and kings, we are reminded that some secrets are layered and complex, accessible only through patient study and reverence for the unknown. The Egyptian code in star alignments is not a simple puzzle, but a gateway to a worldview where the cosmos and civilization intertwine in ways we are only beginning to understand. What truths remain hidden in the patterns of stars? What messages did the ancients leave for us in stone and sky? The answers, like the stars themselves, await discovery. Silent, distant, and endlessly compelling. As the shadows lengthen over the ruins of ancient temples and tombs, there lies a subtler treasure, one that gleams softly in the light and whispers tales of forgotten skill and artistry. Egyptian glass, with its vibrant hues and delicate translucence, holds a secret craft once revered yet now largely lost to time. Unlike the monumental stone structures that dominate the desert landscape, glass artifacts offer a glimpse into the ingenuity of artisans who transformed raw sands into radiant objects that have puzzled scientists and historians alike. Glassmaking, as a practice, dates back thousands of years in Egypt, with some of the earliest examples found in burial sites, adorning pharaohs and nobles with beads, vessels, and intricate jewelry. These objects, often small but exquisitely crafted, reveal a mastery over materials and processes that was far ahead of its time. The vibrancy of the colors, the clarity of the glass, and the sophistication of the shapes suggest techniques that modern science struggles to fully replicate, even with today's advanced technology. At the heart of ancient Egyptian glassmaking lies the transformation of silica, sand, into a molten substance that could be shaped and colored. This process requires not only intense heat, but also a precise understanding of the materials involved. The Egyptians sourced their sands carefully, selecting grains with particular compositions, and combined them with fluxes like natron to lower melting points. The exact recipes, however, remain elusive. Despite extensive study, scientists have yet to uncover definitive formulas that match the quality and appearance of ancient glass. The colors themselves raise further questions. Egyptian glassmakers achieved an impressive palette: deep blues, radiant greens, fiery reds, and golden yellows, often within a single artifact. These colors were not merely decorative, they carried symbolic meaning tied to the Egyptian worldview. Blue, for example, was associated with the Nile and the heavens, symbolizing life and rebirth. Yet, how exactly did artisans create these vivid pigments with such consistency? The presence of trace elements like cobalt, copper, and iron hints at complex chemical processes that the ancients mastered intuitively, though the specifics of their methods remain a subject of ongoing research. Intriguingly, some glass objects from Egypt exhibit properties that challenge our current understanding of ancient technology. Certain vessels display exceptional durability and chemical stability, resisting degradation over millennia in a harsh desert environment. Others show optical qualities, such as exceptional clarity or subtle iridescence, that modern glassmakers struggle to reproduce without modern additives and precise conditions. These anomalies invite speculation. Did ancient Egyptians possess lost techniques or access to materials now unavailable? Archaeological finds add to the enigma. Sites like Amarna and Tel El Amarna have yielded workshops filled with raw glass fragments, crucibles, and tools, suggesting well-organized production centers. Yet, no direct records describe the manufacturing processes in detail, leaving a gap between physical evidence and written knowledge. The hieroglyphic texts, while rich in symbolism and religious significance, rarely delve into the technical aspects of glassmaking, as if the craft was a closely guarded secret, or perhaps considered sacred knowledge. Moving beyond Egypt, similar glass artifacts appear across the ancient Mediterranean, indicating that Egyptian glassmaking influenced distant cultures, or that the knowledge spread through trade and cultural exchange. The Phoenicians, Romans, and others refined and expanded glass production, but the Egyptian examples often retain a unique aesthetic and technical signature, one marked by precision, artistry, and mystery. The question arises, why did this advanced glassmaking knowledge fade? By the time of the Roman Empire, glassmaking had evolved considerably, adopting new methods like blowing, but some of the subtleties found in Egyptian glass seemed lost or transformed. Some scholars argue that shifts in political power, economic changes, and the decline of centralized workshop systems contributed to this loss. Others suggest that religious or cultural shifts led to the devaluation of certain artisanal traditions. Venturing into more speculative territory, a number of fringe theories have emerged, seeking to explain the unexplained qualities of Egyptian glass. Some propose that the ancients had access to proto-technology, or undiscovered materials, minerals or compounds that no longer exist or have yet to be identified. Others hypothesize that Egyptian glassmakers were in contact with advanced knowledge beyond their time, possibly through unknown trade routes or esoteric traditions. While these ideas remain unproven and often controversial, they underscore the enduring fascination with Egyptian craftsmanship and the limits of modern archaeology. A particularly intriguing mystery centers on the so-called blue glass found in certain royal tombs. This glass, unusually vibrant and uniformly colored, defies easy reproduction. Modern attempts to recreate the hue often fall short, suggesting a lost combination of materials or firing conditions. Could this glass have been more than ornamentation? Some researchers speculate about symbolic or even ritualistic purposes, objects imbued with spiritual significance, crafted through secret rites or under special celestial conditions. The technical challenges of ancient glassmaking also raise broader questions about knowledge transmission. How did the Egyptians acquire and preserve their glassmaking expertise? Was it passed down through guilds or secret societies? Did the craft intertwine with religious practices, imbuing the objects with meanings beyond their physical form? The silence of the historical record on these matters fuels curiosity and invites deeper investigation. Moreover, the physical evidence prompts us to reconsider assumptions about ancient technology. The precision and quality of Egyptian glass remind us that technological sophistication is not always linear or uniform. Civilizations can achieve remarkable feats, lose them, and sometimes regain them centuries later. The story of Egyptian glassmaking is a testament to human creativity and the fragile nature of knowledge across generations. As modern scientists continue to analyze ancient glass fragments with cutting-edge techniques, such as spectroscopy and electron microscopy, they uncover new details about composition and structure. Each discovery adds nuance, but also raises fresh questions. The mystery of Egyptian glassmaking remains partly unresolved, a shimmering puzzle blending artistry, science, and history. In the quiet shards preserved beneath the sands, there echoes a silent challenge to understand not just how ancient glass was made, but why it was made with such care and skill, and what secrets might still lie hidden in its translucent depths. The lost art of Egyptian glassmaking beckons us forward, inviting exploration into the intersection of ancient ingenuity and the mysteries that still defy explanation. Amid the grandeur of towering pyramids, gilded sarcophagi, and walls inscribed with tales of gods and kings, there lies a far quieter yet deeply compelling enigma: painted human skulls found in certain ancient Egyptian tombs. These skulls, often carefully decorated with vibrant pigments and delicate patterns, offer a stark contrast to the monumental stone structures, revealing an intimate, personal glimpse into the lives and beliefs of a civilization that has long fascinated the world. The discovery of these painted skulls was unexpected. Unlike the more familiar images of mummies wrapped in linen or richly adorned coffins, the skulls stand as solitary relics, sometimes placed with reverence within burial chambers, at other times found alongside pottery, amulets, and other funerary objects. Their presence raises immediate questions. Why were only the skulls painted? What purpose did these elaborate designs serve? And what secrets might these silent bones hold? Scholars have documented painted skulls primarily from the late pre-dynastic period through to the early dynastic eras, roughly between 3500 and 2700 BCE. This was a transformative epoch in Egyptian history, marked by the consolidation of power, the emergence of complex religious systems, and the development of intricate burial customs. Within this context, the painted skulls appear to be part of funerary practices that emphasize identity and the afterlife in ways that challenge conventional understanding. The designs themselves vary, yet certain motifs recur: lines tracing the contours of the face, geometric patterns that seem almost ritualistic, and occasionally symbols that could represent protective or spiritual meanings. Some skulls display vivid colors: reds, blues, blacks, derived from natural minerals ground into pigments. The application is precise, suggesting skilled artisanship and a symbolic language now partially lost to time. From a scientific standpoint, the preservation of these pigments over millennia is remarkable. Analyses using microscopy and chemical tests reveal the use of ochre, malachite, and charcoal-based paints, materials readily available in the region but carefully selected and applied with intent. The colors were not merely decorative but likely held significance in Egyptian cosmology: red representing life or regeneration, blue symbolizing the heavens or divinity, black associated with fertility and rebirth. But why focus on the skull? The skull is the seat of identity, the vessel of the mind and spirit. In many cultures, it holds powerful symbolic weight, connected to ancestry, protection, and the essence of life itself. For ancient Egyptians, the painted skull may have served as a surrogate or guardian of the deceased's identity, an anchor for the soul during its journey through the afterlife. Some archaeologists propose that this practice was a transitional ritual during early mummification phases, when full-body preservation techniques were still developing. The painting of the skull could have been a form of proto-mummification or a method to honor the dead's visage when more elaborate methods were unavailable or impractical. Yet, the mystery deepens when considering the context of these skulls. In several tombs, painted skulls were discovered with evidence of deliberate modification: cranial shaping or trepanation, for example. Cranial deformation, achieved by binding the head during infancy to alter its shape, was practiced in some ancient societies and may have indicated social status or religious affiliation. Trepanation, the surgical removal of a portion of the skull, though rare, has been found in some Egyptian remains and is thought to have had medicinal or ritualistic purposes. These modifications, combined with the painted decorations, invite speculation about the beliefs and social structures of these early Egyptians. Were these skulls reserved for elite individuals, shamans, or those believed to possess special powers? Did the painted designs encode tribal identity, lineage, or spiritual protection? The answers remain elusive. In some cases, the placement of painted skulls within tombs raises further questions. Were they intended to watch over the living or the dead? Were they objects of ancestor worship, revered as physical links to the departed? Some scholars draw parallels to similar practices in other ancient cultures where skulls were displayed or decorated as a means of venerating ancestors and ensuring their continued presence among the living. Moving beyond the archaeological record, the painted skulls have also attracted more speculative interpretations. Some researchers suggest that the unusual patterns and symbols could represent a form of ancient proto-writing or coded messages, records of lineage, cosmological knowledge, or secret rites. Others propose that the skulls functioned as vessels for spiritual energy, charged with ritual significance during burial ceremonies. Fringe theories occasionally enter this discourse, proposing connections to lost knowledge or even extraterrestrial influences. While these ideas lack robust evidence and remain outside mainstream scholarship, their very emergence underscores the powerful allure of the painted skull's mystery. They serve as a canvas onto which imagination and the unknown project themselves, reflecting humanity's desire to understand the enigmatic facets of ancient life. The careful scientific approach has also uncovered more questions. Why do painted skulls appear only in certain regions and periods within Egypt? Are they the remnants of a localized cult or religious practice that faded as dynastic traditions took hold? What caused the eventual disappearance of this custom, and what replaced it within the evolving framework of Egyptian funerary rites? Recent technological advances provide new avenues for exploration. 3D scanning and imaging allow researchers to study the skull's surface patterns without damage, while pigment analysis reveals the precise mineral compositions and techniques used. Such studies bring us closer to understanding the craftsmanship and symbolic language, yet a full decoding remains out of reach. Equally compelling is the emotional resonance these skulls evoke. They are tangible reminders of individual lives, hopes, and beliefs, a human face transformed into art and ritual. They compel us to look beyond the grand narratives of pharaohs and gods to the personal and intimate dimensions of ancient Egyptian culture. As the mystery unfolds, the painted skulls stand as silent witnesses, bridging the ancient past and present inquiry. They ask us to reconsider what we know about identity, death, and remembrance in a civilization that continues to reveal secrets layer by layer. What stories did these skulls tell to those who painted them? What hopes or fears were etched into their designs? And what truths about humanity and the unknown might still be hidden beneath their painted surfaces? The answers, like the colors themselves, may have faded with time, but the mystery endures, inviting us to look deeper, to question, and to wonder. Beneath the blistering sun of southern Egypt, amid the rugged cliffs of Aswan's granite quarries, lies one of the most perplexing enigmas of ancient Egyptian engineering, the unfinished obelisks. Towering stone monuments, the obelisks were intended to stand as monumental testaments to Pharaoh's divine authority and the civilization's architectural prowess. Yet here, in the very cradle of their creation, rest massive monoliths frozen in time, never fully realized, their secrets locked within the hard granite. The largest of these incomplete obelisks, measuring over 42 meters in length and weighing an estimated 200 tons, lies tilted precariously in the quarry, split from the bedrock but never severed completely. Its sheer scale is staggering. Imagine a single piece of stone, quarried and shaped, intended to be transported miles downstream to stand erect before a temple, now abandoned and cracked where it was cleaved from the earth. Why was this monumental project halted? What forced the artisans to abandon what must have been an immense investment of labor, resources, and skill? Archaeologists understand some practical challenges faced by the ancient Egyptians. The granite of Aswan is notoriously hard and difficult to work with, and quarrying such massive blocks posed extraordinary risks. Cracks and faults in the stone could render a monolith unstable, forcing abandonment to avoid catastrophic failure during extraction or transport. Indeed, the unfinished obelisk exhibits clear signs of natural fractures, which may have dissuaded further work. Inscriptions and tool marks around the site reveal sophisticated techniques. Workers used dolerite-pounding stones to carve and smooth the granite, creating flat surfaces and fine angles without modern machinery. Yet even with such expertise, nature's imperfections sometimes defied control. Still, this practical explanation accounts for only part of the mystery. The unfinished obelisk stands as a silent witness to a larger question. Was it merely a failed engineering project, or is there something more profound at play? Intriguingly, the quarry itself was a sacred place, viewed not simply as a site of labor, but as a space charged with spiritual and symbolic significance. Granite, prized for its hardness and lustrous surface, was associated with eternity and divine power. The act of quarrying was more than extraction. It was a ritual, an act of communion with the gods. Could the abrupt cessation of work signal a deeper, perhaps even supernatural reason? Some Egyptologists speculate that the abandonment may have been linked to ominous omens or signs interpreted by priests and overseers. Ancient texts and later myths speak of divine displeasure, manifesting in the form of physical imperfections or unexpected accidents. Was the crack in the obelisk seen as a curse, a warning to halt further desecration of sacred stone? Beyond practical and spiritual explanations, the unfinished obelisks also pose technological puzzles. How exactly did the Egyptians plan to move such colossal masses? The logistics of transportation, detaching the obelisk, sliding it down steep terrain, loading it onto barges, then moving it along the Nile, demanded meticulous planning and unparalleled engineering acumen. While some obelisks successfully made this journey, the risks were immense. Could the incomplete obelisk represent a deliberate trial? A prototype abandoned upon discovering insurmountable difficulties? Adding to the intrigue, recent research into the quarry reveals traces of unexpected mineral deposits and geological formations that may have complicated extraction. Some geologists suggest that subterranean shifts or water seepage weakened the stone's integrity during the carving process. If true, the ancient workers' decision to abandon the project might reflect a keen, albeit empirical, understanding of the land's hidden dangers. Speculation extends further into the symbolic realm. Obelisks themselves were more than architectural features. They were symbolic links between earth and sky, representing the sun's rays and serving as conduits for divine energy. Did the unfinished obelisk's sudden abandonment hold a metaphorical meaning, a cosmic message lost to time? Fringe theories, while not supported by mainstream scholarship, add layers to the enigma. Some propose that the obelisks were not merely monuments, but part of an ancient energy grid or a system of power generation using unknown technologies. The incomplete state could signify interrupted access to this energy or knowledge lost to history. Others hypothesize that the quarry was a testing ground for esoteric practices, halted when something went awry, mystical forces unseen by human eyes. While such ideas veer into speculation, they echo a common theme. The unfinished obelisk is more than a failed project. It is a symbol of human ambition confronting natural limits and mysteries yet unsolved. Today, visitors to Aswan stand before the massive, half-carved stone, feeling the palpable weight of history and unanswered questions. The cracks, tool marks, and sheer scale speak to the skill and daring of ancient craftsmen. Yet the obelisk's story remains incomplete, much like the monolith itself, an open chapter in Egypt's enduring saga. What truths lie buried within that granite? What lessons about ambition, reverence, and the unknown can we glean from a project abandoned millennia ago? The puzzle of the incomplete obelisks invites us to pause and ponder, not just the limits of ancient engineering, but the fragile boundary between human endeavor and the inscrutable forces of nature and spirit. So we continue our journey, not with certainty, but with wonder, stepping carefully alongside the shadows cast by these silent giants, ever curious about the mysteries still etched in stone. Beneath the colossal pillars and towering pylons of Karnak, one of ancient Egypt's grandest temple complexes, lies a world both magnificent and mysterious, a world where power, faith, and secrecy intertwined in ways that continue to baffle scholars and ignite the imagination of modern observers. The sprawling site, dedicated primarily to the god Amun-Ra, was more than a place of worship. It was a living center of ritual, politics, and priestly authority that shaped the spiritual and social landscape of Egypt for centuries. As you walk through the massive hypostyle hall, the air seems to hum with echoes of long-forgotten chants and whispered incantations. The sheer scale of the architecture, with its 134 towering columns carved intricately with hieroglyphs, suggests not only the grandeur of the pharaohs who sponsored it, but also the profound reverence, and perhaps fear, with which the priesthood was regarded. These priests were the gatekeepers of sacred knowledge, mediators between the mortal world and the divine, entrusted with rites that maintained cosmic order itself. Yet what truly went on behind the closed doors of Karnak remains shrouded in mystery. We know from inscriptions and papyri that the priesthood conducted elaborate ceremonies, ranging from daily offerings and festivals to secretive rituals said to invoke the god's presence. The Opet festival, for example, celebrated the rejuvenation of kingship, a vivid pageant involving the transport of divine statues from Karnak to Luxor. But beyond these public spectacles, what arcane rites were practiced in the hidden chambers, far from the eyes of common worshippers? The priests operated within a hierarchy, with the high priest of Amun at the apex, a figure wielding immense religious and political power. Historical records reveal that during certain dynasties, the high priest's influence rivaled that of the pharaoh himself, suggesting a fusion of spiritual authority and state control. This intertwining raises profound questions. How did the priests maintain such power? What secrets did their rituals hold that allowed them to command reverence and obedience? Archaeological finds and textual evidence give glimpses of ritualistic implements, incense burners, ceremonial knives, sacred wands, and detailed instructions carved on temple walls. These point to a complex system of purification, invocation, and symbolic reenactment of mythic events. The idea was not merely to honor the gods, but to sustain Ma'at, the balance and harmony of the universe. Yet, within these well-documented practices lurk unexplained elements. One of the most intriguing aspects involves the so-called hidden chambers beneath Karnak. While much of the temple complex has been extensively excavated, rumors and legends persist of sealed-off rooms or underground passages yet to be fully explored. Could these concealed spaces have been sites for the most secret and powerful rites? Some Egyptologists speculate that these chambers were used for initiatory ceremonies, where select priests underwent transformative experiences intended to bring them closer to divine knowledge. The nature of such initiation remains elusive. Did these rituals involve altered states of consciousness? Were psychotropic substances used, as some texts suggest the use of sacred plants and incense blends with mind-altering properties? Or did the priests employ advanced meditation and chanting techniques to transcend ordinary perception? The lack of explicit records, perhaps intentionally destroyed or kept secret, fuels these questions. Beyond the temple precincts, the priesthood's influence extended into the realm of esoteric knowledge. Certain hieroglyphic inscriptions and later Greco-Roman sources hint at an ancient wisdom guarded jealously by the priests, knowledge of the stars, cosmic cycles, and perhaps even early forms of astronomy or calendrical science embedded within ritual symbolism. Could the rituals at Karnak have been encoded with celestial meanings, connecting earthly ceremonies with the heavens above? Further mystery surrounds the iconography used by the priests. Many statues, reliefs, and ceremonial objects depict figures in strange postures, wearing masks or headgear that defy straightforward interpretation. Some of these have been linked to animal symbolism: crocodiles, falcons, serpents, each bearing layered mythological significance. Were these images merely symbolic, or did they relate to secret priestly identities or roles within ritual dramas enacted behind temple walls? Modern researchers have applied new technologies to Karnak's enigmas. Infrared imaging, ground-penetrating radar, and 3D scanning reveal faint traces of hidden inscriptions and architectural features previously overlooked. Some discovered markings are indecipherable or differ markedly from standard hieroglyphs, suggesting either coded messages or a lost symbolic language. Such findings hint at an intellectual tradition within the priesthood that may have been deliberately veiled from outsiders. The priests' role as intermediaries also encompassed matters of life and death. Funerary rites, magical spells, and protective charms were part of their repertoire, believed essential for securing safe passage into the afterlife. Yet some accounts describe rituals with a darker edge, incantations aimed at controlling spirits, binding enemies, or even invoking curses. How far did the priesthood's power extend into the supernatural? And how much of this knowledge was suppressed or sanitized by later scribes? Speculative theories abound. Some suggest that the Karnak priesthood held secrets to ancient technologies or energies now lost, powerful forces harnessed through ritual and temple design. Others propose that these rites were part of a broader network of mystical knowledge shared across the ancient world, connecting Karnak to other sacred sites. While mainstream scholarship remains cautious, the tantalizing gaps invite us to wonder what truths might lie hidden beneath centuries of sand and stone. As the sun sets over the towering pylons of Karnak, casting long shadows across the temple's labyrinthine corridors, one is left with a profound sense of the unknown. The rituals of the priesthood, with their blend of the sacred and the secret, continue to whisper through time, inviting us not just to study them, but to feel their enduring mystery. What mysteries remain locked in those silent chambers? What ancient wisdom and power did the priests guard so jealously? And how much of this knowledge has slipped beyond the reach of even our most advanced investigations? The answers evade us still, lingering just beyond the veil of history, waiting for the patient and curious to uncover them. Beyond the towering pyramids and monumental temples, beneath the sun-baked sands of Egypt, lies a secret realm that defies both time and history. A vast subterranean maze whispered about in the margins of ancient texts, yet curiously absent from the pages of mainstream history. This is the underground labyrinth, an architectural marvel said to stretch beneath the desert floor, a complex network of chambers and corridors that has eluded modern archaeology and captured the imaginations of explorers and scholars alike. The first hints of this labyrinth come from classical sources. The Greek historian Herodotus, writing in the 5th century BCE, described a sprawling structure near the Fayum oasis. A place more impressive than even the pyramids themselves, he claimed. According to his accounts, the labyrinth was composed of thousands of rooms, both above and below ground, linked by endless passageways and adorned with intricate reliefs depicting the history and mythology of Egypt. Yet, despite his vivid description, later generations found little direct evidence to corroborate these claims. The labyrinth slipped into obscurity, overshadowed by Egypt's more visible wonders. But what exactly was this labyrinth? Was it a royal necropolis, a sprawling temple complex, or something else entirely? Modern archaeology offers partial answers. Excavations near the ancient site of Hawara in the northern Fayum region uncovered a vast funerary complex built by Pharaoh Amenemhat III of the 12th dynasty around 1800 BCE. The ruins include subterranean galleries, chambers, and corridors, the closest physical evidence resembling the labyrinth Herodotus described. These excavations revealed a complex designed for both the living and the dead, a necropolis to house the pharaoh's remains, and a temple to honor the gods. But the labyrinth's full scale and purpose remain elusive. Many of its underground chambers are blocked by collapsed rock or buried beneath centuries of shifting sand. And despite technological advances like ground-penetrating radar and 3D imaging, large sections remain unexplored and inaccessible. What did the ancient builders intend with this maze? Was it simply a tomb meant to protect the royal dead from grave robbers? Or did it serve a grander, more enigmatic function? Perhaps a symbolic representation of the underworld, a labyrinthine journey for the soul-seeking passage to the afterlife? In Egyptian mythology, the afterlife was no simple destination but a perilous voyage through darkness and danger. The Duat, or underworld, was imagined as a vast, shifting realm filled with hidden traps and guardians. Could the labyrinth have been a physical manifestation of this myth, constructed to mirror the soul's trials and transformations? The complexity of the corridors, the many locked doors, and secret chambers suggest the architects intended to confuse and confound, perhaps to protect sacred knowledge or prevent unauthorized access. Indeed, the labyrinth may have served as both a spiritual and practical barrier. Beyond its funerary function, some scholars suggest it housed priestly archives, ritual spaces, or even astronomical observatories hidden beneath the surface. Certain chambers bear enigmatic carvings and symbols, not fully understood, hinting at esoteric rites or lost wisdom. Here, the line between history and legend begins to blur. Tales passed down through generations speak of hidden chambers filled with treasures, forbidden scrolls, or relics imbued with mystical power. The labyrinth's reputation as a place of mystery is enhanced by reports of disorienting passageways and inexplicable acoustic phenomena. Whispers seem to echo endlessly, and shadows dance where no light should reach. Could these be natural effects, or were they deliberately engineered to evoke awe and fear? Some fringe theories propose that the labyrinth was a repository of advanced ancient knowledge, perhaps technology or cosmological insights far beyond the standard archaeological narrative. Theories range from speculative suggestions of lost energy systems embedded within its walls to secret initiations of priestly elites who guarded wisdom from outside eyes. Yet, despite its allure, the labyrinth remains largely a mystery. Modern attempts to penetrate its depths have been stymied by instability, flooding, and the fragile nature of the ancient construction. Unlike the pyramids, which rise proudly into the sky, the labyrinth lies hidden, obscured beneath layers of earth and myth. One might wonder, why did such a significant structure vanish from historical record? Was it intentionally erased, lost to time, or simply overshadowed by the grandeur of Egypt's more visible monuments? The answer is as elusive as the labyrinth's twisting corridors. There is also the haunting possibility that the labyrinth was never meant to be fully discovered. Some Egyptologists propose that its complexity and secrecy were designed to protect not only royal tombs, but knowledge and rituals reserved for a select few. This raises profound questions. What secrets did the ancient Egyptians deem too sacred or dangerous for common knowledge? And how much has been lost, buried beneath sand and silence? The labyrinth challenges our understanding of ancient Egyptian civilization, its architectural ingenuity, spiritual beliefs, and the extent of its hidden knowledge. It beckons us to explore not only the physical corridors, but also the metaphorical pathways into the mysteries of the human experience: fear, reverence, power, and the quest for immortality. As modern explorers and researchers continue to probe its depths, each new discovery raises as many questions as it answers. The labyrinth's silent stones seem to hold their secrets tightly, inviting only the most patient and persistent to unlock them. So, what lies beyond the next sealed door or collapsed passage? Could the labyrinth still harbor undiscovered chambers filled with forgotten history? Or does its greatest mystery lie not in what we might find, but in what remains hidden, an eternal enigma beneath the desert sands, waiting for those willing to seek the truth? Beneath the blistering sun and rugged cliffs that cradle the Valley of the Kings, an ancient silence prevails. This sacred necropolis, carved deep into the limestone hills west of Luxor, has long been a gateway to the past, a place where pharaohs sought eternal rest and where centuries of history lie entombed within rock-hewn chambers. But beyond the stone and shadow, something more elusive lingers. A mystery of sound, ethereal, fleeting, and enigmatic, has begun to surface, puzzling researchers and stirring the imaginations of those who dare to listen closely. It began with the recent installation of sensitive audio equipment during archaeological surveys and conservation projects. Designed to monitor environmental conditions and structural integrity, these devices inadvertently captured something unexpected: soft, unexplainable noises, whispers, distant echoes, and tones unlike any known natural or mechanical source. At first, these phantom sounds were dismissed as mere interference, the result of shifting air currents, distant wildlife, or the subtle vibrations of the desert environment. But as recordings accumulated over months and years, a pattern emerged, one that defied easy explanation. The sounds are faint, almost imperceptible to the casual ear, yet persistent. They fluctuate, sometimes resembling low hums that ebb and flow like a slow breath, other times manifesting as rhythmic pulses, almost musical in quality. What is remarkable is that these noises appear to originate from within the ancient tombs themselves, deep in corridors where no living soul ventures for days on end. The valley's labyrinth of burial chambers, sealed off and undisturbed for millennia, seems to be emanating an audio signature that science cannot fully explain. Researchers meticulously examined all known environmental factors: temperature fluctuations, wind patterns funneling through narrow shafts, seismic activity, and even bats or insects were ruled out as the sole sources. The geology of the area, with its porous limestone and hidden caverns, can produce natural resonances, but these sounds exhibit qualities that resist categorization. They sometimes occur in sequences or patterns suggestive of intentionality, sparking a tantalizing question. Could these sounds be echoes of ancient rituals, preserved by the stone itself? The Valley of the Kings is no stranger to mystery. The tombs, adorned with elaborate hieroglyphs and vivid depictions of the afterlife, were designed not just as resting places, but as sacred spaces imbued with spiritual energy. It is conceivable that certain architectural features, chambers, corridors, and shafts, were intentionally constructed to harness sound, whether as a means of communication with the divine or as part of complex funerary rites. Some Egyptologists propose that acoustics played a crucial role in the rituals performed within these tombs, possibly designed to invoke the gods or facilitate the soul's journey. Yet, if these phantom sounds are remnants of ancient ceremony, why have they only become audible now? Could it be that millennia of geological settling, erosion, or even human intervention have shifted conditions, allowing these sonic fragments to emerge from their long slumber? Or perhaps modern technology is simply attuned to perceive what was always there, but went unnoticed. This sonic enigma has attracted a spectrum of interpretations, from cautious scientific hypotheses to more speculative theories. Some suggest that the recordings capture subtle electromagnetic emissions or vibrational frequencies emitted by the stones themselves, energies aligned with ancient Egyptian cosmology, which viewed the universe as a harmonic balance. Others venture further, proposing that the tombs act as natural resonators for quantum phenomena, or that they contain hidden chambers where sound-based rituals were practiced. Fringe theories occasionally propose supernatural explanations, claiming the sounds are echoes of spirits or entities bound to the tombs, manifesting as audible phenomena. While such ideas are often dismissed by the academic community, they speak to the profound human fascination with the unknown and the longing to connect with a distant past that still holds its secrets tightly. The discovery of these phantom sounds challenges the notion that ancient Egyptian tombs are silent relics, frozen in time. Instead, they invite us to reconsider the relationship between space, sound, and memory, how environments can retain subtle imprints of human presence, ritual, and belief. The Valley of the Kings, with its layers of history and myth, becomes not just a site of visual archaeology, but an acoustic landscape, alive with mysteries that beckon careful listening. As audio specialists refine their equipment and archaeologists collaborate across disciplines, efforts continue to map and understand the acoustic properties of these ancient spaces. Could future explorations reveal hidden chambers designed specifically for sound? Might we one day decode these sonic patterns to uncover lost prayers, chants, or messages intended to transcend time? Or is the mystery inherently elusive, a fragment of a culture's spiritual essence that resists full capture? For now, the phantom sounds remain an open question, a whisper from the past that draws us closer, yet keeps its ultimate meaning just out of reach. In the stillness of the valley, where kings lie silent, these mysterious echoes remind us that history is not only written in stone, but perhaps also sung softly by the earth itself. And so, as we continue our journey through the enigmas of ancient Egypt, we pause to listen to the silence and to what lies just beyond it. Beneath the sun-scorched plains of ancient Thebes, where the mighty Nile weaves its eternal path, lie the remnants of palaces long swallowed by time. These were not mere royal residences, but centers of power and ceremony, places where pharaohs and nobles orchestrated the fate of a civilization. Today, what remains of these lost palaces is but a whisper, a fragile echo in the dust, a collection of shattered walls and scattered stones. Yet, despite their ruinous state, these ruins seem to hold more than history alone. They bear secrets that resist the passage of time, whispering faintly through the ages, challenging what we think we know about ancient Egypt. Thebes, modern-day Luxor, was once the heart of Upper Egypt, its palatial complexes sprawling across vast areas, filled with vibrant frescoes, ornate columns, and intricate carvings. Archaeologists have uncovered traces of these lost palaces, among them the elusive Malkata, built by Amenhotep III and other royal residences that flourished during the New Kingdom. These structures reveal an architectural grandeur that blends artistry with spiritual symbolism, reflecting a civilization deeply entwined with its gods and cosmos. Yet, as fascinating as the physical remains are, it is what they do not reveal outright that fuels intrigue. Beneath the surface, beyond the visible ruins, lie layers of mystery that resist easy explanation. For centuries, explorers and scholars have noted a peculiar phenomenon. The walls themselves seem to whisper, not in the literal sense of voices, but in the subtle ways the ruins interact with sound and perception. Visitors and researchers describe strange acoustic effects, echoes that linger longer than expected, murmurs that seem to come from nowhere, and vibrations that unsettle even the most skeptical. How can stone walls whisper? Could this be a trick of the environment, or something more deliberate? The architectural layout of Thebes' palaces was complex, designed not only for function but for ceremonial grandeur. Large halls with high ceilings, winding corridors, and multiple chambers create natural resonances. The ancients were masters of geometry and acoustics, and some scholars suggest that sound played a significant role in rituals conducted within these spaces. It's possible that certain chambers were crafted to amplify chanting or music, enhancing the spiritual experience for those inside. Yet, beyond the practical, there are stories, whispered in academic circles and among locals, of hidden rooms and passages, sealed for unknown reasons, their entrances lost beneath centuries of sand and debris. These spaces are said to be imbued with an atmosphere that defies simple explanation, a heaviness, a stillness punctuated by sudden, inexplicable noises. Scientific investigations have sought to demystify these phenomena. Using modern acoustic equipment, researchers have attempted to map the sound profiles within some uncovered sections of these palaces. They confirmed the presence of unusual echoes and resonance patterns, shaped by the unique architecture and materials. Limestone walls, frescoed plaster, and vast open chambers combine to create an acoustic environment unlike many modern structures. But not all sounds can be neatly categorized. Some recorded vibrations and murmurs resist explanation by geology or architecture alone. Could these be remnants of ancient sound rituals preserved through stone? Or perhaps the subtle movements of the earth and shifting sands, creating natural, yet eerie, noises? The truth remains elusive. Moving from facts to theories, some Egyptologists propose that these acoustic anomalies were intentionally engineered. Sound was not merely a byproduct of design, but a sacred element, woven into the very fabric of these spaces. Could the palaces have served as sound temples, where rituals included vocalizations or instruments tuned to specific frequencies to invoke divine presence or alter consciousness? Others speculate on more arcane possibilities. Could these whispering walls be repositories of encoded knowledge, messages left in sonic form to be discovered only by the initiated? Ancient Egyptian spirituality is rich with symbolism and secrecy, and it is not beyond reason to imagine that certain sounds, frequencies, or echoes were deliberately used as protective or mystical barriers. More fringe perspectives even consider the walls as conduits for energies beyond current scientific understanding, vibrations that align with cosmological forces or the enigmatic concept of Heka, the ancient Egyptian idea of magical power that animates the universe. Could the whispering be a physical trace of these metaphysical beliefs, a lingering resonance of the spiritual world brushing against our own? Yet despite these theories, no definitive explanation has been reached. The whispering walls of Thebes' lost palaces remain a riddle. Each investigation uncovers more questions than answers, hinting at layers of history and meaning that may forever elude us. What if the walls are not whispering at all, but listening? Could they be silent witnesses to millennia of human ambition, devotion, and mystery, holding within their cracks and crevices the stories of forgotten ceremonies, conspiracies, or cosmic revelations? As our technology advances and our understanding deepens, we continue to peel back the layers of this enigma. But for now, the whispering walls remain silent keepers of their secrets, inviting us not to demand answers, but to listen carefully and to wonder. Beneath the shimmering sands of Egypt's timeless deserts and the grandeur of its monumental temples lies a history far more complex and shadowed than the golden narratives of famous pharaohs and towering pyramids. Among these hidden layers of antiquity are the stories of Egypt's forgotten queens, women whose names are often lost to the passage of time, whose legacies have been overshadowed or erased, yet whose influence quietly shaped the course of history. Their stories dwell in the spaces between recorded history and whispered legend, inviting us to peer into a world where power, intrigue, and mystery intertwine. The queens of ancient Egypt were far more than consorts or royal ornaments. Many wielded considerable authority, sometimes ruling as regents, sometimes as sovereign pharaohs in their own right. Names like Hatshepsut, Nefertiti, and Cleopatra have entered popular consciousness, celebrated for their charisma and influence. Yet, beyond these famous figures, countless others remain obscured by incomplete records and intentional omission. Tombs unmarked or hidden, inscriptions deliberately defaced, and history written predominantly by male successors all contribute to the enigmatic silence surrounding these women. Consider Ankhesenamun, the young queen whose fate after the death of Tutankhamun remains shrouded in uncertainty. Or Nitocris, a queen mentioned fleetingly by later historians, rumored to have avenged her family's downfall. Then there are those known only through fragments of pottery, scattered inscriptions, or vague references in royal decrees. These queens exist largely as shadows on the margins of Egyptology, prompting scholars to ask, who were these women? What roles did they play beyond the throne room's visible splendor? The archaeological record provides tantalizing but incomplete clues. Royal burial sites, such as those in the Valley of the Queens, offer glimpses into the status and reverence afforded these women. Elaborate tombs adorned with rich iconography suggest significant political and religious roles. Yet many queens' burial places remain undiscovered or unexplored, lost beneath centuries of sand and shifting earth. The question arises, is the scarcity of evidence a result of natural decay, or has it been influenced by deliberate acts of historical suppression? Inscriptions from temples and monuments reveal occasional references to powerful queens acting as regents for young pharaohs, commanding armies, or overseeing state affairs. For example, Hatshepsut's reign was marked by grand construction projects and extensive trade expeditions. But even her images were defaced or replaced after her death, an act historians debate as political erasure by successors who sought to reassert traditional male dominance. Might similar fates have befallen other queens, their legacies wiped to maintain a certain narrative of kingship? As Egyptologists delve deeper, some propose that the erasure of queen stories was part of broader social and religious dynamics, where patriarchal norms increasingly marginalized female power. Yet this theory does not fully explain all anomalies. Some queens appear to have held titles and exercised power in ways unprecedented even among their male counterparts. Did these women operate within hidden networks of influence, communicating through coded symbols, secret rites, or clandestine alliances? The notion of secret knowledge or lost histories surrounding these queens has fueled speculative theories. Fringe perspectives suggest that some queens were custodians of esoteric wisdom, keepers of mystical traditions predating recorded dynasties. Could they have been priestesses or initiates in secret cults, wielding spiritual authority that challenged conventional rulership? Archaeological finds, such as enigmatic amulets, symbolic carvings, or obscure religious texts, hint at rituals and beliefs that remain poorly understood, perhaps intentionally concealed. One intriguing theory revolves around the concept of the Shadow Queen, a figure who operates behind the throne, whose power is not acknowledged in official histories, but who shapes events from the shadows. This idea resonates with tales from other cultures about influential women hidden in the wings of history. Could some forgotten Egyptian queens fit this archetype? Were they political strategists, guardians of sacred knowledge, or figures who bridged the earthly and divine realms in ways their male counterparts could not? Moreover, the mystique deepens when we consider the physical evidence, or lack thereof, in the archaeological record. Some royal tombs have been discovered empty or vandalized, raising questions about the fate of their occupants. Were these queens victims of palace intrigues or religious purges? Could some have fled, their lives erased deliberately to rewrite history? The shifting sands of Egypt's deserts may have preserved their bodies from decay, but not from the human hands that sought to remove their names from memory. At the same time, modern technology and interdisciplinary research bring new tools to the quest. Advanced imaging techniques, DNA analysis, and digital reconstruction reveal hidden chambers, overlooked artifacts, and familial connections once thought impossible to trace. These discoveries occasionally confirm long-held suspicions or reveal unexpected alliances, yet many questions endure. For instance, recent scans of unexcavated tombs and sites have hinted at previously unknown burial complexes that might belong to queens yet unrecognized by history. The lives of these forgotten queens also prompt reflection on the nature of power and memory. What does it mean to be remembered or forgotten? How does history decide whose stories are told and whose are silenced? The elusive queens of Egypt remind us that history is often a tapestry woven with both truth and omission, light and shadow. Their vanished names echo a complex narrative of gender, authority, and legacy that still challenges modern understanding. Could the silence around these queens be an invitation rather than a barrier? An invitation to look beyond grand monuments and official records, to question, to explore, and to listen to the faint traces left behind. Each broken artifact, every fragment of hieroglyph, every faded fresco becomes a piece of a larger puzzle that refuses to be neatly solved. As we delve further into the mysteries of ancient Egypt, the stories of its forgotten queens compel us to reconsider what we know about power, influence, and memory in one of history's most fascinating civilizations. Their shadows stretch across millennia, hinting at truths concealed in the interplay of history and myth, inviting us to wonder what secrets still lie buried beneath the shifting sands. Beneath the golden sands near the Great Pyramids of Giza lies an astonishing relic that continues to captivate archaeologists and historians alike, the solar boat burial of the Pharaoh Khufu. This vessel, painstakingly reconstructed from thousands of wood fragments, is not merely a funerary artifact. It embodies a technological and spiritual enigma that seems to transcend its time. As the sun dips below the horizon and casts long shadows across the desert, one can almost imagine the ancient Egyptians' reverence for this boat, not just as a means of passage to the afterlife, but as a symbol woven deeply into their understanding of the cosmos, eternity, and human ingenuity. The solar boat, discovered in the 1950s, was originally buried in a specially constructed pit adjacent to the Great Pyramid, intended to transport Khufu's spirit across the celestial waters of the afterlife. Measuring approximately 43 meters in length, this vessel was meticulously designed and crafted from cedar wood imported from Lebanon, an impressive feat given the logistical challenges of the time. Its construction reveals a level of woodworking and naval engineering that has puzzled experts for decades. The precision of the joints, the flexibility of the hull, and the overall design indicate knowledge far beyond what many would expect from an ancient civilization that predated modern shipbuilding techniques by millennia. Scientific analyses have confirmed the authenticity and sophistication of the boat's construction. The Egyptians employed advanced joinery methods, such as mortise and tenon joints, without the use of nails, allowing the boat's structure to flex and absorb the stresses of river navigation. This is remarkable because such techniques are only seen in much later periods elsewhere. The question arises, how did the ancient Egyptians acquire this knowledge? Was it the product of generations of practical experimentation? Or does it hint at a deeper, perhaps lost, understanding of technology and materials? Yet while the craftsmanship speaks to impressive skills, the mystery deepens when we consider the purpose of the boat beyond the funerary context. Egyptian mythology depicts the sun god Ra journeying daily across the sky in a solar bark, battling chaos and bringing light to the world. Could this boat have been designed not only as a vessel for Khufu's soul, but as a symbolic replica of Ra's own ship? If so, what does this say about the ancient Egyptians' grasp of astronomy, cosmology, and their concept of life and death? The context of the boat's burial also raises questions. Unlike most funerary goods, which were interred inside tombs or burial chambers, this vessel was buried in a pit next to the pyramid, sealed for millennia and only rediscovered in the 20th century. The pit's airtight seal, the careful disassembly of the boat, and its preservation in such a precise state suggest that the Egyptians understood the necessity of protecting this sacred object from time and decay. Was this purely ritualistic, or did it serve an additional, perhaps technological function that remains unknown? As researchers have reconstructed the boat, experimental archaeology has played a crucial role. Several full-scale replicas have been built and tested on the Nile. These trials demonstrated the boat's seaworthiness, its agility on water, and the effectiveness of its design. Yet, no evidence suggests that such vessels were ever used for long-distance travel or warfare. Instead, they appear to belong purely to the realm of ritual and symbolism. This duality between practical engineering and metaphysical purpose adds a layer of complexity to the mystery. Moving beyond the facts, fringe theories have emerged, speculating on the true nature of the solar boat and the knowledge it represents. Some propose that the boat was a form of ancient advanced technology, possibly a prototype of sorts, representing a leap in understanding that vanished with the passing of Khufu's dynasty. Others suggest that the boat might have been capable of more than just river navigation, perhaps even symbolic of celestial or otherworldly voyages. Could the ancient Egyptians have had insights into astronomy and physics encoded in their design that modern science has yet to decipher? Certain researchers point to the precise alignments and measurements found in Egyptian architecture and artifacts, including the solar boat, as evidence of a lost scientific tradition. They argue that the boat's construction aligns with sacred geometry and numerology, concepts deeply embedded in Egyptian religious thought, but potentially also linked to practical scientific knowledge. Could these alignments be more than symbolic? Could they reflect an understanding of natural laws that has been forgotten? Skeptics counter that many of these claims rely on modern interpretations imposed on ancient symbolism, cautioning against reading too much into what might simply be religious metaphor or craftsmanship, reflecting the tools and knowledge of the time. The careful joinery and expert woodworking may simply represent the apex of Nile boat-building traditions, perfected through centuries of empirical knowledge rather than sudden technological leaps. Still, the notion that ancient Egyptians might have possessed knowledge or technology beyond what has been documented continues to inspire exploration. The solar boat stands as a tangible testament to this possibility, a bridge between the known and the unknown, a physical manifestation of mystery itself. Adding to the intrigue are the acoustic and material properties of the cedar wood used. Cedar, prized for its durability and resistance to decay, was also valued for its aromatic qualities, which were believed to have protective or even spiritual significance. Some theorists suggest that the choice of materials and construction methods may have had purposes extending beyond the physical, perhaps designed to resonate with spiritual frequencies or energy fields, reinforcing the link between the physical and metaphysical. The very act of burying such a large, intricate vessel in parts, only to have it painstakingly reconstructed millennia later, speaks to a level of reverence and perhaps a desire to preserve knowledge across generations. Was the solar boat intended as a time capsule of technological achievement, or a sacred object meant to function within rituals that we no longer fully comprehend? In this interplay of archaeology, myth, and science, the solar boat remains a silent witness. It invites us to ponder the capacities of an ancient civilization often underestimated by modern eyes. It challenges us to look beyond the surface of stone and wood, to question how much of human ingenuity has been lost or hidden by the sands of time. As we continue to investigate, piece together fragments, and listen closely to the echoes of the past, the solar boat burial mystery holds its secrets tightly, reminding us that some truths may lie forever just beyond our reach, waiting patiently beneath the desert sun. Beneath the scorching sun of Egypt's endless deserts, where grains of sand shimmer like countless tiny jewels, lies a secret that has fascinated scholars, alchemists, and treasure seekers for centuries. The possibility that the ancient Egyptians might have possessed knowledge to transform the very sands beneath their feet into gold. This notion, evocative and alluring, has become a tantalizing thread woven into the tapestry of Egypt's most enduring mysteries, an alchemical whisper echoing through millennia, blurring the boundaries between science, myth, and legend. Imagine the ancient world, a place where the desert's golden hues were not just a backdrop, but a potential source of literal wealth and spiritual power. Egyptian civilization, celebrated for its monumental architecture and profound religious symbolism, also nurtured a complex understanding of natural materials and metaphysical principles. While the grandeur of the pyramids and the solemnity of the tombs capture our imagination, there is a quieter, subtler fascination with the Egyptians' material mastery, particularly their apparent command over metals, pigments, and chemical processes. Among these, the idea that they practiced a form of alchemy to transmute sand into gold beckons us to reconsider the depth of their scientific and esoteric knowledge. Historical records and archaeological evidence confirm that the ancient Egyptians were skilled metallurgists. Gold, in particular, held a special place in their culture, symbolizing the divine, the eternal, and the incorruptible. Pharaohs adorned themselves with golden jewelry. The gods were often depicted with golden attributes, and sacred objects were crafted from or gilded in gold. But gold was also scarce and precious, requiring laborious mining far from the Nile Valley. The idea that this precious metal could be produced, or at least mimicked, from common materials like sand or mineral ores adds a profound layer of intrigue. Scientific analyses of Egyptian artifacts reveal a remarkable sophistication in metallurgy and chemistry. Techniques such as smelting, alloying, and gilding were well developed. The artisans understood how to extract gold from ore, refine it, and apply it to various surfaces with impressive durability and brilliance. Yet the suggestion that they might have developed methods akin to alchemy, a transformative process often associated with medieval European mystics centuries later, raises challenging questions. Could the Egyptians have had their own proto-chemical practices aimed at manipulating the elemental nature of matter? Among the most famous testimonies to this possibility are the writings of the alchemist Zosimos of Panopolis, an Egyptian who lived in the late 3rd and early 4th centuries AD. His texts, blending technical instructions with mystical symbolism, describe processes that resemble early chemical experimentation and spiritual transformation. Though far removed in time from the age of the pyramids, Zosimos's work suggests a continuity of esoteric knowledge in Egypt that might have roots deep in the pharaonic past. Could the alchemical traditions of later periods trace back to forgotten Egyptian practices, ones that held the promise of turning base substances into precious metals? The physical evidence of this enigmatic knowledge is elusive but thought-provoking. Archaeologists have uncovered pigments and materials that defy simple explanation. The Egyptian blue pigment, for instance, was synthesized through a complex firing process involving silica, lime, copper, and alkali, a remarkable chemical achievement. Similarly, traces of finely powdered gold found in unexpected contexts have led some researchers to speculate that the Egyptians experimented with dispersing gold in powdered form or coating objects to simulate solid gold's appearance. Yet, the transformation of sand, a primarily silica-based substance, into gold remains a profound mystery. Conventional chemistry dismisses such a conversion as impossible without nuclear reactions, which ancient technology could not achieve. Still, ancient texts and symbolic art suggest that the Egyptians viewed materials not merely as physical entities, but as carriers of spiritual essence. In this light, turning sand into gold might be metaphorical, representing a spiritual alchemy, the elevation of the soul, the transmutation of the mundane into the divine. Some fringe theories take this metaphor a step further, proposing that certain Egyptian artifacts might be evidence of advanced, lost technologies. These speculations, while lacking mainstream scientific support, point to items like the mysterious Baghdad battery, a clay jar containing a copper cylinder and iron rod, sometimes interpreted as an ancient galvanic cell, and the famed Dendera light relief, which some suggest depicts an ancient electrical device. Could similar technologies have been used to alter materials at a molecular level, or to create effects that mimicked alchemical transformation? Intriguingly, recent scientific studies into nanotechnology have opened new perspectives. Modern researchers have discovered that gold nanoparticles can produce brilliant colors and effects when suspended in solutions or applied to surfaces. Some ancient Egyptian artifacts display colors and properties that might be explained by the presence of such nanoparticles, raising questions about whether artisans of the past had an intuitive, if not explicit, understanding of these phenomena. But how might this knowledge have been preserved or transmitted? The secrecy surrounding alchemical practices throughout history often meant that knowledge was encoded in cryptic texts, guarded within priestly orders or mystery schools. Ancient Egypt, with its complex religious hierarchy and emphasis on ritual knowledge, provides fertile ground for such possibilities. Temples and tombs often featured symbolic inscriptions and imagery that could serve as mnemonic devices or coded teachings, hinting at secret arts accessible only to the initiated. Yet the puzzle remains. Why would such knowledge be concealed? Perhaps the transformative power of alchemy, literal or spiritual, was seen as sacred, dangerous, or too powerful for the masses. Alternatively, it might reflect a worldview where material transformation was inseparable from moral and spiritual transformation, accessible only through rigorous initiation and understanding. As we examine these clues, questions abound. Were the Egyptians alchemists in the true sense of the word, practitioners of a proto-science blending chemistry, spirituality, and symbolism? Or is the story of turning sand into gold a poetic metaphor, a mystical ideal that captured the imagination of later cultures more than the reality of ancient practice? Could the meticulous craftsmanship of Egyptian goldsmiths and the complexity of their material science represent the closest approximation to alchemical transformation achievable in antiquity? This mystery also invites us to reflect on the nature of knowledge itself, how ancient civilizations understood the world around them, and how much has been lost to time. Are there truths buried beneath the sands, encoded in hieroglyphs and hidden in the chemical traces of ancient artifacts, waiting for modern science to uncover them? Or do these enigmas remind us that the boundary between fact and myth is often porous, especially in civilizations as rich and complex as Egypt's? The quest to understand the ancient Egyptian alchemy of sand and gold remains ongoing. It is a story that unfolds slowly, inviting us to look deeper, to question what we assume about history, science, and spirituality. In the shimmering grains of the desert, between the glittering gold of tomb treasures and the inscrutable symbols etched into temple walls, lies a mystery that continues to challenge, to inspire, and to evoke wonder. What if the true gold of Egypt was not merely a metal, but a secret of transformation itself? Beneath the shifting sands and towering monuments of ancient Egypt lie countless treasures, relics imbued with beauty, craftsmanship, and a quiet mystery that continues to captivate us millennia later. Among these artifacts, few hold the same allure as the amulets. Small, intricate objects worn close to the body, believed by their creators to possess protective, magical, or even supernatural powers. These enchanted amulets, fashioned from precious stones, metals, and rare materials, were more than mere decoration. They were a profound expression of the Egyptian understanding of the unseen forces governing life, death, and the cosmos. Imagine holding one of these amulets, its smooth surface worn by centuries of touch, the delicate carvings etched into its face revealing symbols both familiar and cryptic. An ankh, representing life, a scarab beetle symbolizing rebirth and transformation, or the Eye of Horus, a protective emblem of divine watchfulness. Each symbol was carefully chosen, each material selected not only for its aesthetic value, but for its spiritual resonance. Yet, what exactly was the nature of the power these amulets were believed to wield? How did the ancient Egyptians perceive the relationship between the physical object and the invisible energies it was meant to command? From a historical and archaeological perspective, the use of amulets in ancient Egypt is well documented. They were found in tombs, temples, and homes, often placed on the deceased's body to guard against evil in the afterlife or worn by the living for protection, healing, and fortune. Their presence in burial contexts suggests a strong belief in their efficacy beyond the physical realm, ensuring safe passage and favor in the next world. Materials ranged from simple faience and glass to precious gold and lapis lazuli, sometimes even exotic materials whose origins remain mysterious. The craftsmanship required to produce these amulets, tiny, detailed, and enduring, speaks to their importance in Egyptian culture. Scientific examination of these objects reveals sophisticated techniques in metallurgy, carving, and pigment application. Researchers have uncovered traces of substances that could have held symbolic or ritual significance: resins, oils, and even compounds with antimicrobial properties. Could the ancient artisans have been aware, at least empirically, of the health benefits their creations might bestow? And how might these physical properties intertwine with the spiritual meanings attributed to the amulets? Yet, beyond these verifiable facts lies a deeper, more enigmatic layer. Numerous ancient texts and inscriptions describe amulets as vessels of power, capable of influencing fate, healing illnesses, or even warding off malevolent spirits. The Book of the Dead and other funerary texts often reference specific amulets and their intended magical functions. But how literal were these beliefs? Did the Egyptians perceive these objects as channels to divine forces, or as symbols reinforcing psychological comfort and social order? Modern science can account for the materials and the techniques, but it cannot fully explain the extent or nature of the amulet's powers. This gap between the tangible and the intangible invites speculation and wonder. Some researchers propose that the amulets functioned as early forms of psychosomatic medicine, where belief and ritual harnessed mental and emotional energies to effect healing or protection. Others argue that the Egyptians tapped into an unknown source of energy, perhaps subtle electromagnetic fields or bioenergetic phenomena, that modern instruments have yet to detect or understand. One of the most intriguing aspects of the amulets is their consistent use of specific symbols that recur throughout Egyptian history and across regions, suggesting a shared spiritual language. The Eye of Horus, for instance, appears repeatedly, not only carved in stone and metal, but inscribed on papyri and even in the layout of temple architecture. This symbol, believed to protect against evil and promote health, was often used as a protective talisman. Could it be that these recurring symbols acted as conduits for some universal force, an ancient code or vibration encoded in shape and form? Even more fascinating are the reports and anecdotes from archaeologists and curators who have observed unusual phenomena surrounding these objects. Accounts of inexplicable warmth, faint luminescence, or even subtle movements in the dark have been recorded, though anecdotal and unverified. Could these experiences be explained by residual energies absorbed over centuries, or are they reflections of the human mind's deep connection to objects of faith and mystery? Fringe theories expand the horizon further. Some suggest that amulets may have served as ancient technological devices, crafted with knowledge lost to time, capable of manipulating energies in ways we cannot yet replicate. Ideas abound that certain stones and metals used in amulets have piezoelectric or other unique physical properties, potentially interacting with the body's own energy fields. Could the artisans of ancient Egypt have understood and harnessed these interactions intuitively, blending spiritual tradition with practical effects? Another speculative avenue explores the relationship between the amulets and sound or vibration. Some esoteric traditions propose that the specific shapes and inscriptions on amulets act as resonators, amplifying or channeling vibrational energy, akin to tuning forks or modern energy medicine tools. If true, this would imply a sophisticated knowledge of acoustics and energy that modern science has only begun to explore. Yet caution is warranted. Much of this remains in the realm of hypothesis and interpretation, influenced by modern perspectives and cultural lenses. The ancient Egyptians themselves might have regarded these mysteries differently, weaving together mythology, religion, and practical knowledge into an inseparable whole. The amulet's power, whether tangible or symbolic, was rooted in the collective belief system of a civilization deeply attuned to the mysteries of life and death. What remains undeniable is the enduring fascination these small objects inspire. They are bridges to a past where the boundaries between science, magic, and spirituality were fluid, where artisans were also priests, and where the quest to understand the unseen world was a central human endeavor. The amulets challenge us to reconsider the nature of power and protection, and how much of what we dismiss as superstition may contain kernels of truth still beyond our grasp. As we continue to study and preserve these enchanted amulets, we are reminded that mystery is not the absence of knowledge, but the invitation to deeper inquiry. What unseen forces did the ancient Egyptians harness through these delicate talismans? How did they perceive the relationship between matter and spirit, body and cosmos? These questions linger like shadows cast by flickering candlelight, urging us to look closer, to listen more carefully, and to remain open to the possibility that the ancient world holds secrets yet to be revealed. So, as we hold these tiny relics in our imagination, feeling their weight and texture, we step into a dialogue across time, a quiet conversation with those who lived thousands of years ago, who crafted objects not only to adorn, but to protect, to heal, and perhaps to touch the ineffable. The story of the enchanted amulets continues, an unfolding mystery that invites us all to wonder what truths still lie hidden beneath the surface. Beneath the blistering sun and swirling sands of Egypt's ancient necropolises, there exist countless tombs, long sealed, their doors weathered by time yet emblazoned with warnings that have echoed through millennia. These are not mere inscriptions. They are curses, solemn, foreboding texts etched in stone to deter the living from disturbing the eternal rest of the dead. The curses inscribed on forgotten tomb doors are among the most haunting remnants of a civilization profoundly attuned to the sacred balance between life and afterlife, guardianship and trespass. As we move deeper into this labyrinth of history and myth, the stone thresholds stand like silent sentinels, guarding secrets both tangible and spectral. Imagine approaching one such door, its surface rough yet meticulously carved with hieroglyphs that weave warnings in an ancient script. Each symbol carries weight, the names of gods, the invocation of divine wrath, and the chilling promise of retribution upon any who dare breach the tomb's sanctity. The air seems to thicken with the unspoken power of these inscriptions, a palpable tension between reverence and dread. From a historical perspective, the practice of inscribing curses on tomb doors is well documented, particularly during Egypt's New Kingdom period. These warnings were crafted not only as spiritual safeguards, but as legal declarations intended to protect royal and noble burials from grave robbers, a persistent threat in an era when gold and precious artifacts were both symbols of divine favor and irresistible spoils. Archaeologists have uncovered numerous examples where such curses invoke deities like Anubis, the guardian of the dead, and Sekhmet, the fierce lioness goddess, invoking their vengeance on any defilers. Inscriptions might read, "He who opens this tomb shall be consumed by fire, his blood shall drain, and his soul shall wander in darkness forever." The language is often vivid and exacting, with threats ranging from eternal damnation to physical affliction. Some curses are remarkably specific, naming potential transgressors or detailing the types of punishment to befall them. These textual safeguards reveal a civilization deeply invested in the metaphysical consequences of disturbing the dead, reflecting beliefs that the soul's peace hinged on the tomb's inviolability. Yet, despite these textual warnings, the reality of tomb looting was widespread. Why, then, did these curses hold such power in the cultural imagination? Could they have been mere superstition, psychological deterrence, or did they reflect an ancient understanding of forces beyond the material world? The efficacy of these curses remains a topic of debate among scholars. In some cases, tomb robbers reported misfortunes following their desecrations, accounts that fueled the legend of the mummy's curse. But how much of this is mythologized, and how much might stem from genuine, unexplained phenomena? Modern scientific examination of tomb sites reveals no physical mechanism by which a curse could manifest harm. However, there are intriguing anomalies. Some tombs contain traps, pitfalls, concealed shafts, or architectural features designed to collapse on intruders. These mechanical defenses suggest that the ancients employed practical methods alongside supernatural warnings to protect their sacred spaces. Yet such traps do not account for all reported misfortunes, leaving room for speculation about the curse's true nature. Anthropologically, curses can be understood as extensions of the ancient Egyptians' profound spiritual worldview. Death was not an end, but a transition to an afterlife governed by Ma'at, the principle of cosmic order and justice. Violating a tomb disturbed this order, threatening chaos. Thus, curses may have functioned as metaphysical enforcers, leveraging belief in divine justice to uphold societal norms and respect for the dead. Stepping beyond established scholarship, fringe theories add layers of intrigue. Some propose that the curses were not only spiritual, but encoded with esoteric knowledge. Secret warnings understood only by initiates of mystery schools or priestly orders. Could these inscriptions contain cryptic references to hidden chambers, forbidden rituals, or protective magic unknown to outsiders? The precise symbolism and repetitive motifs in curse texts hint at a language of power that transcends mere words. Others speculate on the possibility that curses might trigger psychosomatic effects, influencing the minds and bodies of tomb robbers through fear and expectation. Could a belief in the curse be powerful enough to induce accidents, illness, or even hallucinations? The human psyche's vulnerability to suggestion is well documented, and in isolated, often claustrophobic tomb environments, the power of fear can be magnified exponentially. More speculative still are theories that these curses tap into unknown natural forces. Some researchers have noted the presence of toxic molds, gases, or spores within sealed tombs, substances that could cause respiratory problems, hallucinations, or death. Could the curses have served as warnings against real, albeit misunderstood, dangers lurking in the dark recesses of burial chambers? The confluence of environmental hazards and cultural fears might have coalesced into the legendary power of the curse. In addition, certain inscriptions allude to divine retribution involving invisible forces, flames without fire, sudden darkness, or mysterious ailments. These descriptions invite comparisons to phenomena not yet fully understood by modern science, such as electromagnetic fields or bioenergetic effects. Although speculative, the idea that ancient Egyptians harnessed or feared unseen energies adds a tantalizing dimension to the narrative. A particularly captivating example is the so-called Curse of Tutankhamun, which entered popular consciousness after the opening of his tomb in 1922. Several members of the excavation team died under unusual circumstances, sparking sensational stories of a curse unleashed. While many deaths can be explained by coincidence or medical causes, the persistence of this legend reflects the enduring fascination with tomb curses. It also raises questions about the psychological impact on those who enter these sacred spaces, and the cultural weight these inscriptions continue to carry. Notably, some curses mention eternal punishment, not just in this life, but beyond, implying a belief in consequences that transcend time and space. This conception of justice and retribution aligns with Egyptian eschatology, but also resonates universally, tapping into deep human fears of violation and retribution. As we explore the curses inscribed on forgotten tomb doors, we confront a rich intersection of history, spirituality, psychology, and mystery. They are at once tangible artifacts, carved into stone, and ephemeral warnings echoing across time. Are these curses mere relics of ancient superstition, or do they hint at deeper truths about the human relationship with death and the unknown? What forces, visible or invisible, might these inscriptions invoke or symbolize? The answers remain elusive, obscured by centuries of decay, cultural transformation, and the limits of modern understanding. Yet, the allure of these curses persists, inviting us to tread carefully as we peer into the shadows cast by ancient stone. Each inscription is a doorway, not just to a tomb, but to questions that challenge our assumptions about power, fear, and the sacred boundaries between worlds. As we continue our journey through Egypt's mysteries, the silent warnings carved into stone stand as poignant reminders. Some secrets may be protected not only by walls and traps, but by words woven with the weight of belief, waiting for those brave or foolish enough to heed their call. Beneath the imposing columns and sprawling courtyards of Luxor's ancient temples, a place where sunlight dances across sandstone walls inscribed with millennia-old hieroglyphs, there flows a secret river, hidden from the eyes of most visitors. This underground watercourse, veiled in shadow and mystery, runs silently beneath one of Egypt's most revered sacred sites, a reminder that beneath the grandeur above lies a world few dare to explore. Luxor, known in antiquity as Thebes, was the religious heart of Egypt for centuries. Its temples, Karnak, Luxor Temple, and others, were centers not only of worship but of political power, art, and science. While the grandeur of these structures speaks volumes about the skill and devotion of their creators, the river beneath them raises questions that ripple beyond the physical and into the realm of the unknown. Historically, the Nile has always been Egypt's lifeblood, its annual floods nourishing the soil, sustaining crops, and shaping the rhythms of life. Yet, beneath Luxor's temples, there is an additional, hidden waterway, a subterranean river whose origin and course have fascinated explorers and researchers alike. Its existence is not merely a modern discovery. Ancient texts and local legends hint at the presence of underground waters, sometimes referred to as the River of the Gods, linking earthly temples to the divine realm below. Scientific explorations of this underground river have revealed a complex system of natural caverns and waterways carved over millennia by erosion and the shifting geology of the Nile Valley. Ground-penetrating radar and sonar scans have mapped chambers filled with water, some vast enough to form lakes beneath the city. The temperature and mineral composition of this water suggest it is fed not only by the Nile, but also by underground aquifers, creating a dynamic, living ecosystem hidden from view. Yet, the existence of this river has raised questions beyond geology. Ancient Egyptian builders were master planners, known for aligning their temples with celestial bodies and incorporating the symbolism of life and rebirth into their architecture. Water, a symbol of fertility and renewal, played a crucial role in their spiritual worldview. Could the underground river beneath Luxor have been intentionally integrated into the temple complexes, perhaps as part of ritual ceremonies or as a symbolic link to the afterlife? Some researchers propose that secret chambers and waterways were designed to channel sacred waters, allowing priests to perform rites in hidden sanctuaries. The river may have been more than a natural feature. It could have been a deliberate spiritual artery connecting the earthly and the divine. Ancient Egyptian texts, like the Book of the Dead, frequently mention the journey through the underworld, where water serves as a barrier and a path. Might this subterranean river represent a physical manifestation of that mystical passage? Explorers and divers who have ventured into parts of the underground system describe eerie, silent chambers filled with water, where the echoes of history seem to linger in the cold, still air. The water's clarity and stillness create a mirror-like surface that reflects flickers of light from torches or headlamps, lending an almost otherworldly atmosphere. In these submerged spaces, inscriptions and carvings on walls hint at forgotten rituals or secret gatherings, though much remains obscured by sediment and time. Yet, despite scientific advances and modern technology, vast sections of the underground river remain unexplored, inaccessible due to unstable geology, narrow passages, or dangerous conditions. This leaves room for speculation and mystery to grow. Could there be hidden chambers still untouched by human hands, containing artifacts or knowledge lost to history? Are there secrets encoded in the water itself? Stories whispered by the flow beneath the temples? More speculative theories venture into the realm of the esoteric. Some suggest that the underground river may have been part of an ancient system designed not just for ritual but for energy, channels through which life forces or cosmic energies could be directed and harnessed. The concept of ley lines, or invisible energetic currents connecting sacred sites, is often cited, though these ideas remain controversial and outside mainstream archaeology. Others propose that the water may carry unique properties, perhaps linked to minerals or electromagnetic fields, that influenced the spiritual experiences of priests or initiates within the temple complex. Could the proximity to this hidden river have heightened states of consciousness, aided meditation, or served as a catalyst for mystical visions? While modern science has yet to verify such claims, these hypotheses invite us to reconsider the ancient Egyptians' sophisticated relationship with their environment and the unseen. Local lore and oral histories add further layers to the mystery. Stories passed down through generations speak of voices heard beneath the ground, of strange lights reflected on water surfaces in the dead of night, and of spiritual guardians protecting the river's secrets. Such tales blur the line between history and myth, reminding us that human fascination with this hidden world is not a new phenomenon, but a continuum stretching back thousands of years. The intersection of fact and mystery in the case of Luxor's underground river serves as a powerful symbol of Egypt itself, a land where the known and the unknown intertwine, where stone monuments offer glimpses of a civilization's achievements but cannot fully reveal its deepest enigmas. The river beneath the temples is a reminder that beneath the surface of what we see and understand lies a deeper current, flowing silently and persistently, waiting for those willing to listen and explore. As we continue to unravel the layers of Luxor's secrets, the underground river remains a compelling enigma. It challenges us to expand our understanding beyond stone and scripture, to consider the role of natural forces and human belief in shaping one of history's greatest spiritual landscapes. What lies hidden beneath the temples, beneath the waters, may forever elude definitive explanation, but the journey to uncover its mysteries is itself a testament to the enduring allure of ancient Egypt. And so, as we pause here, with the river's silent flow beneath us and the grandeur of the temples above, we are invited to wonder what truths might still ripple beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. Beneath the golden sands and monumental tombs of ancient Egypt lies a legacy both revered and shrouded in silence, the art of mummification, a process perfected over millennia, yet partially lost to the sands of time. For centuries, this sacred ritual was the cornerstone of Egyptian beliefs about life, death, and what lies beyond. It was a science, a spiritual practice, and an expression of profound reverence for the body as the vessel of the soul's eternal journey. Yet, despite countless studies and archaeological discoveries, much about these ancient embalming techniques remains elusive, secrets whispered through the ages but never fully revealed. Imagine a dimly lit chamber within a necropolis, where priests in linen robes perform solemn rites under flickering oil lamps. The air is thick with the scent of resins and spices, the smoke curling upward as invocations to Osiris, Lord of the afterlife, echo softly against stone walls. This was a sacred space, designed not merely to preserve flesh, but to prepare the deceased for rebirth in the afterworld. Every step was deliberate, the careful removal of organs, the meticulous drying and wrapping of the body, the anointing with sacred oils. The ancient Egyptians believed that preserving the body was essential for the soul's survival. Without it, the journey to immortality could be lost. Modern science has illuminated many aspects of mummification. We know that embalmers removed internal organs and treated bodies with natron, a natural salt compound, to dehydrate and prevent decay. The use of resins, bitumen, and linen wrappings served both practical and symbolic purposes, protecting the body and imbuing it with spiritual potency. Yet beyond these general practices, questions linger. How did embalmers achieve such remarkable preservation in some cases, with bodies that have remained intact for thousands of years? What precise techniques and materials were employed? And why do some mummies show evidence of substances or methods still not fully understood? Intriguingly, some mummies challenge conventional explanations. Certain remains exhibit preservation so exquisite that soft tissues, hair, and even fingerprints remain remarkably intact. Advanced chemical analyses have revealed traces of compounds that modern researchers struggle to replicate or identify fully. For example, the presence of unique resins or embalming fluids with antibacterial properties suggests a sophisticated knowledge of preservation far beyond what was previously assumed. Could the ancients have possessed formulas or methods that have since been lost? If so, how and why did such knowledge disappear? Adding to the mystery are mummification practices that deviate from the standard rituals. Some mummies display unusual embalming styles or contain artifacts whose purpose remains unclear. In rare cases, bodies have been found wrapped in unconventional materials or treated with substances not native to Egypt, raising questions about cultural exchanges or esoteric rites. Could these anomalies point to secretive priestly knowledge, hidden schools of embalming practice, or even forgotten rituals tied to mysticism and the occult? Moreover, the spiritual dimensions of mummification invite further reflection. The process was not merely physical, but deeply symbolic. intertwined with Egyptian cosmology and theology. The meticulous preservation of the body was believed to anchor the Ka and Ba, the spiritual doubles of the deceased, allowing them to reunite and thrive in the afterlife. This union was essential for resurrection and eternal life. Yet, how exactly did the ancient priests conceptualize this process? Were there aspects of the ritual and embalming meant to manipulate or harness unseen energies? Did they employ techniques to influence the soul's transition, knowledge that remains veiled by time and lost texts? Some fringe theories suggest that mummification may have included elements now considered lost arts or proto-scientific practices. Proposals range from the use of sophisticated chemical agents extracted from rare plants or minerals to the employment of sacred chants or rituals designed to preserve or empower the body's spiritual essence. While mainstream archaeology approaches these claims with caution, the persistence of unusual findings invites open-minded inquiry. How much of what we know is shaped by the fragmentary nature of surviving evidence, and how much remains beyond our grasp? The study of mummies also raises fascinating questions about the relationship between technology and spirituality in ancient Egypt. Were embalming techniques purely pragmatic, or did they reflect a broader understanding of biology and metaphysics? The precision observed in some mummified remains suggests an empirical knowledge of anatomy and chemistry, yet embedded within this science was a profound spiritual purpose. Could it be that the Egyptians blended practical skill with ritual magic in ways that science today only begins to glimpse? Furthermore, the discovery of mummies with unusual features, such as those that show evidence of brain removal techniques different from the norm, or bodies preserved without natron, adds layers to the mystery. Some mummies even appear to have been embalmed with knowledge of microbial processes, inadvertently or deliberately targeting decay-causing organisms. These findings hint at an empirical tradition, a body of knowledge refined through observation and experimentation over centuries, but lost in the upheavals of history. The tombs and texts offer tantalizing clues, yet many original records detailing embalming practices have been lost, destroyed, or remain undeciphered. Ancient Egyptian medical papyri provide fragmented insights, but the full scope of embalming knowledge was likely restricted to priestly elites and passed orally or through secretive apprenticeships. This secrecy raises questions. Did the custodians of embalming arts guard their secrets to maintain power? Were some methods considered sacred mysteries, not to be revealed to outsiders or common people? Compounding this, regional variations in mummification practices across Egypt's long history suggest an evolving tradition, adapting to changing religious beliefs, political shifts, and available resources. How did these changes affect the transmission and preservation of embalming knowledge? Did some techniques vanish simply because their cultural or spiritual context faded? Explorations of mummies in contexts beyond Egypt also contribute to the enigma. In some distant cultures, mummification practices display remarkable similarities or differences, leading scholars to ponder questions of diffusion, independent invention, or lost global knowledge networks. Could Egypt's embalming secrets have influenced or been influenced by other ancient civilizations? Are there shared mysteries waiting to be unraveled through comparative study? As modern technology advances, new tools such as CT scanning, chemical residue analysis, and DNA sequencing are shedding light on ancient embalming practices. Yet, each discovery often leads to more questions than answers. For instance, the revelation of embalming compounds containing unknown substances challenges researchers to decode ancient recipes and understand their sources. Similarly, the study of embalmed animals, often sacrificed and preserved for religious purposes, adds complexity to our understanding of the ritual and symbolic roles in Egyptian culture. Ultimately, the mysteries surrounding ancient Egyptian mummification persist, because they touch on fundamental questions of life, death, and the human desire for immortality. The loss of complete knowledge invites us to ponder what has been forgotten: technologies, philosophies, and spiritual practices that once formed the fabric of a civilization's worldview. What truths might still lie hidden in tombs unopened, in manuscripts yet to be deciphered, or in the very tissues of mummies themselves? As we peel back the layers of time and science, we find ourselves at the intersection of history and enigma, where each revelation deepens the mystery. The ancient art of mummification remains not only a testament to human ingenuity, but also a profound symbol of the unknown, an invitation to continue exploring, questioning, and marveling at a past that still holds secrets beyond our current understanding. Beneath the vast sweep of the Giza Plateau, near the towering silhouette of the Great Pyramid of Khufu, lies one of ancient Egypt's most enigmatic treasures, the sunboat. This ancient vessel, carved meticulously from cedar wood, measures over 40 meters in length, its smooth hull assembled from hundreds of carefully shaped planks lashed tightly together. For centuries, it lay hidden, sealed within a subterranean pit that was only rediscovered in the 1950s by archaeologists probing the sands with modern tools. This was no ordinary boat. Known as the solar bark or sun boat, it is believed to have held profound spiritual significance. A vessel for the pharaoh's journey through the heavens alongside the sun, god Ra. The boat's discovery was a revelation, yet it also deepened the mystery. How and why was such an enormous, exquisitely crafted ship buried, hidden away beneath the desert? Its preservation is extraordinary, given the passage of over 4,000 years, prompting questions about ancient woodworking techniques, the sourcing of materials, and the symbolic meaning embedded in its construction. The cedar used to build the boat is not native to Egypt, indicating a trade network extending far beyond the Nile Valley. This alone hints at a civilization with far-reaching connections and sophisticated craftsmanship. Yet perhaps the greatest mystery is not the boat's discovery, but its intended fate, and what happened to the original function and purpose it represented. For centuries, scholars have debated the role of the sun boat. Was it truly meant to sail on the waters of the Nile, or was it a purely symbolic object designed for the afterlife? Some Egyptologists suggest the boat was intended to transport the deceased pharaoh's spirit across the celestial river, replicating the sun's nightly journey through the underworld. Others argue it could have served as a physical vessel for religious ceremonies or funerary processions along the Nile. Despite these theories, the fate of any actual solar journeys remains elusive, lost somewhere between myth and history. The physical boat itself sits immobile in its pit, a silent witness to a lost ritual whose meaning remains partially obscured. No written records explicitly describe the boat's voyage, nor do any ancient texts fully explain the reason for its burial in this manner. This absence of definitive explanation invites us to ask, what secrets might this silent craft conceal? Adding to the intrigue is the fact that the sunboat is not unique in Egyptian archaeology. Several other solar boats have been discovered near pyramids of different dynasties, suggesting a long-standing tradition of embedding symbolic vessels with royal tombs. Yet, many of these boats, unlike Khufu's, were found dismantled or incomplete, intensifying questions about their exact use and symbolic importance. Were they meant to be reassembled in the afterlife, or do they serve as metaphors for journeys beyond human comprehension? Modern scientific analyses have attempted to peel back the layers of this mystery. Detailed studies of the wood, joinery, and construction methods reveal a technology surprisingly advanced for its time. The planks are joined with mortise and tenon joints and sealed with resin to make the boat water-resistant. Some researchers propose that the boat was, in fact, seaworthy and capable of sailing, though there is no evidence it ever did. But if the boat never sailed, why go to such painstaking lengths to build and bury it? What cultural or spiritual imperatives drove the Egyptians to create a vessel that defies easy interpretation? Some fringe theories suggest that the sun boat could be evidence of ancient Egyptians possessing knowledge of celestial navigation or even advanced maritime technology lost to history. Could the boat have been a symbolic key to unlocking secrets of the heavens, a vehicle not merely for a pharaoh's spirit, but for transcending earthly boundaries? These ideas remain speculative but speak to the deep fascination that the sun boat continues to inspire. Another compelling layer to this mystery lies in the symbolic language of Egyptian religion. The sun god Ra was believed to travel in a solar bark, journeying through the night to be reborn at dawn. This mythological voyage is reflected in temple reliefs and funerary texts. Yet, how the ancient Egyptians envisioned this passage, physically or metaphorically, is still debated. The presence of the sun boat near Khufu's pyramid might signify the pharaoh's role as a divine intermediary destined to accompany Ra on his celestial voyage. But how literal was this belief? Was the boat intended to serve as a conduit for divine transformation, or was it a purely ritualistic object? Some scholars explore the possibility that the boat's burial represented an offering to ensure the sun's daily rebirth, a vital component of Egyptian cosmology and the maintenance of Ma'at, the balance and order of the universe. If so, the sunboat's silence and stillness beneath the sand could symbolize a paused journey, a waiting for resurrection in the afterlife. Yet the details of this ritual and its broader implications remain frustratingly out of reach. The question of what happened to the sun boat after it was buried also provokes speculation. Was it ever meant to be retrieved or used? Or was its entombment final, a deliberate act to preserve a sacred artifact untouched by time? The absence of wear or damage consistent with actual voyages suggests it may have never touched water. If so, its burial becomes an even more powerful enigma, a monument to a spiritual voyage, captured in wood and resin, waiting silently beneath the desert's surface. Further complicating the mystery is the broader context of Khufu's reign itself, a period marked by monumental architectural achievements, but also enigmatic historical gaps. Records from the era are scarce, and much of what we infer about the sunboat's significance is drawn from later periods. Could the true story of the sunboat be locked in lost scrolls or oral traditions never recorded? What role might secret priestly knowledge have played in its creation and purpose? As archaeologists continue to study the site with ever more sophisticated technology, from ground-penetrating radar to 3D imaging, new discoveries could illuminate the mysteries surrounding the sunboat. Yet, each new layer uncovered seems to open fresh questions rather than close the case. The vessel's presence challenges modern assumptions about ancient Egyptian spirituality, technology, and cosmology, reminding us that even the grandest artifacts carry secrets beyond immediate comprehension. Ultimately, the disappearance of the sunboat's original meaning mirrors the broader mysteries of ancient Egypt itself, a civilization whose achievements awe us, but whose deepest truths remain tantalizingly just out of reach. Was the sunboat a literal ship, a spiritual symbol, or something altogether different? Does its silent presence beneath Khufu's pyramid mark the beginning of a cosmic journey, or the end of an earthly one? As we peer beneath the sands and into the shadows of history, we are left with a profound question. What truths might still lie hidden in the silent hull of this ancient vessel? What mysteries does the sunboat continue to guard, waiting patiently for those willing to listen to the whispers of the past? Beneath the endless sky and the gentle, life-giving flow of the Nile, ancient Egypt's heart pulsed with rhythms both seen and unseen. The river was more than a source of water and sustenance. It was a sacred artery, entwined with the very soul of the civilization that flourished along its banks. Each year, as the Nile swelled with the annual inundation, an event so vital it dictated the cycles of life and death, The Egyptians honored not only the well-known gods like Osiris and Isis, but also a host of lesser-known deities, secret gods whose stories have been largely forgotten or deliberately obscured by the passage of time. This brings us to one of the more elusive and captivating enigmas of Egypt's ancient religious calendar, the forgotten festival of the Nile's secret gods. Unlike the grand festivals recorded in temple inscriptions or depicted on tomb walls, this event seems to have been kept away from the public eye, known only to select priests and initiates. References to it appear sporadically in fragmented papyri and obscure reliefs, often couched in cryptic symbols and coded language that have confounded scholars for centuries. Imagine the Nile at dusk, its waters shimmering under a pale crescent moon, with shadows lengthening across the papyrus reeds. Along the banks, hidden from the bustling city life and the eyes of the common people, a procession begins to form. Cloaked figures move silently, their faces veiled, carrying ornate vessels filled with mysterious substances, their footsteps measured and deliberate. They carry no banners bearing the names of well-known gods. Instead, their offerings are for entities whose names have been lost or perhaps never meant to be spoken aloud. These secret gods, intertwined with the river's life force, are said to govern the unseen powers of the Nile. The currents beneath the surface, the creatures lurking in its depths, and the invisible energies that flow with the water's rise and fall. Scholars suggest that this festival was closely tied to the ancient Egyptians' understanding of duality, the visible and the invisible, the known and the hidden, life and death. The river itself was a living symbol of this balance. To celebrate the Nile's secret gods was to acknowledge the mysteries that sustained life yet defied comprehension. Such a festival, conducted away from the grand temples and public ceremonies, would have allowed initiates to engage with a deeper, more esoteric layer of Egyptian spirituality. But what exactly did this festival entail? The evidence is tantalizing but frustratingly incomplete. Some texts hint at ritual offerings cast directly into the river, gifts meant to appease the spirits below the surface. Others describe symbolic reenactments of the Nile's journey, from its mysterious sources to its final destination in the Mediterranean, performed under a veil of secrecy. The inclusion of rare plants, intoxicating incense, and possibly even controlled states of trance or meditation suggests a ceremony that blurred the boundaries between the physical and spiritual realms. One of the most intriguing aspects is the apparent connection between these secret gods and the natural phenomena that continue to puzzle scientists today. The Nile's inundation, while broadly understood as seasonal flooding caused by rains in distant mountains, still holds nuances, variations in timing, intensity, and effects that ancient priests may have interpreted as messages or moods from these hidden deities. Could the festival have been an ancient attempt to influence or commune with these forces, to ensure the river's bounty and protect against its destructive potential? Moreover, the mysterious presence of animal symbolism in the fragments related to this festival adds another layer of intrigue. Creatures such as the elusive hippopotamus, the crocodile, and certain fish species appear repeatedly, not merely as fauna, but as divine agents or manifestations of the secret gods. These animals, both revered and feared, occupied a liminal space between the mundane and the sacred. Their behaviors and life cycles might have been observed closely, their significance woven into rituals that modern archaeology has only begun to glimpse. However, the scarcity of direct evidence leaves room for speculative interpretations and even fringe theories. Some suggest that the festival could have included elements of ancient psychoactive practices, ritual consumption of plant-based substances to alter consciousness and access hidden realms of understanding. Others propose that the secret gods might represent an older pantheon, predating the familiar deities, whose worship was gradually suppressed or integrated into mainstream religion. This would explain the oblique references and the deliberate secrecy surrounding the festival. Intriguingly, parallels can be drawn with similar secret or initiatory ceremonies in other ancient riverine cultures. The idea of hidden gods controlling the mysterious depths of a life-giving river resonates across civilizations, suggesting a universal human impulse to acknowledge and respect the unknown forces shaping existence. Yet in Egypt, this mystery is entwined uniquely with a civilization renowned for its obsession with order, balance, and the afterlife, making the forgotten festival of the Nile's secret gods a particularly rich field for exploration. Modern attempts to reconstruct the festival face significant challenges. The artifacts associated with it, often simple vessels, fragments of ritual paraphernalia, or faded wall paintings, offer tantalizing glimpses, but no definitive narrative. Linguistic barriers complicate the interpretation of the texts, many of which use symbolic language or metaphors that do not translate easily into contemporary understanding. Furthermore, the political and religious shifts throughout Egypt's long history likely contributed to the gradual erasure or transformation of this festival's practices. Yet, the very gaps and silences in the record invite us to think deeper about the nature of ancient knowledge and spirituality. What was it about these secret gods that demanded such careful concealment? Were they feared, revered, or perhaps both? Did they represent aspects of the Nile's power that the mainstream cults preferred to keep at bay? Or were they custodians of esoteric wisdom, passed down through hidden lineages of priests and seers? Archaeological sites near the Nile, some yet partially unexplored, continue to yield unexpected findings. Miniature shrines submerged in riverine sediments, offerings buried beneath flood deposits, and inscriptions etched on stones worn smooth by water. Each discovery adds a new thread to the tapestry, suggesting that the forgotten festival and its secret gods remain woven into Egypt's cultural fabric, waiting patiently to be understood. In contemplating this mystery, one might wonder how the ancient Egyptians themselves perceived the boundaries between the visible world and the unseen forces that shaped their lives. Did the secret gods embody the river's untamed essence, the unpredictable currents, the dangers lurking beneath calm waters, the life-sustaining floods, and the death that came with drought? Were they guardians, judges, or arbiters of fate? And how did the festival's hidden rites serve to maintain harmony between humanity and these enigmatic powers? As we move forward in this journey through Egypt's deepest mysteries, the forgotten festival of the Nile's secret gods stands as a compelling reminder that not all ancient knowledge was meant for the masses. Some truths were held close, whispered in shadows beside the flowing waters, known only to those initiated into the river's secret heart. The festival's echoes linger faintly, a ripple in the currents of time, inviting us to listen closely and wonder what remains submerged beneath the surface, unseen but ever present. Beneath the golden sands and towering monuments of ancient Egypt lies a world rich not only in monumental architecture and grand tombs, but also in the intricate artistry of personal adornment, jewelry. These small, exquisite objects, often overlooked in the shadow of colossal pyramids and massive statues, carry with them stories encoded in their shapes, materials, and motifs. They are far more than mere decoration. They are cryptic messages, talismans, and silent witnesses to beliefs and secrets that science still struggles to fully unravel. Imagine holding a delicate pendant crafted over 4,000 years ago. The cool weight of the gold, shaped into a lotus flower or an ankh, sparkles faintly in the dim light. Embedded within the fine filigree and inlaid with stones, such as turquoise, carnelian, or lapis lazuli, these pieces appear at first glance as beautiful adornments fit for the gods and pharaohs. Yet, beneath their aesthetic allure lies a language both complex and subtle, one that speaks of protection, power, and cosmic order. Ancient Egyptian jewelry was not simply worn for ornamentation. It functioned as a potent form of communication, a bridge between the earthly realm and the divine. Each symbol carved or cast into gold, each bead threaded into a necklace, was chosen with intent. The scarab beetle, for example, was a ubiquitous motif, symbolizing rebirth and the eternal cycle of the sun. The Eye of Horus, another common emblem, was believed to ward off evil and grant healing. But beyond these familiar icons, many pieces incorporate cryptic patterns and combinations that remain only partially understood. Recent scientific analyses, employing microscopic imaging and chemical tests, have revealed remarkable craftsmanship and complex manufacturing methods. Gold was often alloyed with trace metals to achieve specific hues and properties, while stones were sourced from distant regions, indicating wide-ranging trade networks and specialized knowledge. Even more intriguing is the discovery of hieroglyphic inscriptions and miniature reliefs engraved onto jewelry, sometimes so tiny they require magnification to discern. These minute inscriptions suggest that jewelry served as portable texts or amulets, conveying prayers or spells tailored to the wearer's needs. Yet, despite the extensive cataloging of symbols and their meanings, puzzling questions endure. Why do some pieces feature unusual iconography, blending symbols in ways that defy conventional interpretations? Could these combinations represent coded messages, secret knowledge accessible only to initiates or the elite priesthood? Some Egyptologists propose that jewelry functioned as a form of esoteric language, a private script woven into the very fabric of daily life and ritual practice. If so, much of this language remains locked in silence, awaiting decipherment. One of the more enigmatic examples lies in the discovery of composite amulets that merge animal, celestial, and abstract forms. These hybrid motifs challenge the neat categories of Egyptian symbolism. For instance, a necklace might depict a falcon intertwined with serpentine figures and solar discs, a confluence of imagery associated with gods like Horus, Wadjet, and Ra. What message was intended in such a convergence? Was it protective, a declaration of power, or perhaps an encoded mythological narrative? The layering of meanings here suggests a sophistication beyond mere symbolism, a multidimensional dialogue between wearer, deity, and universe. The placement of jewelry on the body also appears significant. Certain amulets were crafted to be worn near the heart or throat, locations considered vital for sustaining life force and speech. Others adorned the hands or wrists, possibly to invoke protection or strength in action. Some funerary pieces were buried with the deceased, intended to accompany them into the afterlife, safeguarding their journey and ensuring resurrection. These practices hint at a belief system where jewelry was not static ornamentation, but an active participant in spiritual transformation. Moving from the realm of verified scholarship to more speculative territory, some researchers have posited that certain jewelry pieces might encode astronomical or calendrical knowledge. Patterns found on bracelets or collars occasionally align with star constellations or lunar cycles, suggesting an ancient awareness of celestial rhythms embedded within personal artifacts. Could these adornments have functioned as wearable maps or timekeeping devices, linking the wearer to the cosmos? While tantalizing, such theories remain debated, with skeptics cautioning against overinterpretation. Other fringe hypotheses delve into the idea that jewelry contained concealed scientific knowledge, such as principles of sacred geometry or even acoustics. The recurring use of proportions and shapes aligned with mathematical constants raises questions about whether artisans deliberately encoded cosmological truths in their creations. Some propose that the arrangement of beads or pendants could produce subtle sound vibrations or resonances, potentially used in ritual healing or communication. Although evidence for acoustic properties in jewelry remains minimal, the possibility illustrates the depth of mystery surrounding these objects. Even the sourcing of materials feeds into the enigma. The lapis lazuli adorning many royal pieces was mined thousands of kilometers away in what is now Afghanistan. Carnelian came from the deserts of the Eastern Desert or further afield. Such extensive trade implies not only economic exchange, but also a transfer of cultural and spiritual ideas, possibly influencing the symbolic language embedded in jewelry. How did these far-flung connections shape the development of amuletic motifs? Did the meaning of certain stones shift depending on their origin or context? These questions underscore the interconnectedness of ancient Egypt with a wider ancient world still partly hidden beneath the sands. Archaeological finds also hint at the social dimension of jewelry mysteries. While pharaohs and nobles adorned themselves with the most elaborate pieces, jewelry was widespread across classes, from priests to craftsmen to ordinary citizens. Did common people comprehend the symbolic complexity, or did meaning concentrate among elites? Some suggest that certain amulets functioned as social markers or even secret signs of affiliation to particular cults or mysteries. This raises the question: was jewelry a public display, a private talisman, or both simultaneously? In several tombs, jewelry caches have been found deliberately arranged in patterns that defy random placement. These configurations might reflect ritual formulas or protective arrays. Modern techniques like 3D scanning and spatial analysis are now being applied to investigate these arrangements, seeking to decode possible hidden structures or symbolic geometries. Could the way jewelry was stored or displayed hold clues as important as the pieces themselves? One cannot ignore the psychological and emotional aspects of ancient jewelry either. Personal adornments often carry a sense of identity and memory. For a pharaoh, an amulet might embody divine favor. For a mother, a pendant might invoke protection for her child. Jewelry can be seen as a medium connecting individual experience with universal forces, a tangible interface between mortal and divine. This intimate dimension invites us to consider not just what the objects represented outwardly, but how they were lived and felt. Despite the impressive progress in understanding the cultural and religious context of Egyptian jewelry, many layers of mystery persist. New discoveries frequently raise more questions than answers, revealing an ever-deepening complexity. What secrets remain encoded in those tiny hieroglyphs and entwined motifs? Could we, with our modern eyes and minds, ever fully grasp the symbolic languages that thrived in a world so different from ours? As we continue this exploration, we must recognize that the mystery of ancient Egyptian jewelry is not a puzzle neatly solved, but an ongoing dialogue across millennia. Each piece invites us to slow down, to observe carefully, and to embrace the unknown. In the shimmer of gold and the gleam of stones, in the silent language of form and symbol, there is a story still whispering, waiting for those willing to listen, interpret, and wonder. Beneath the golden sands and towering monuments of ancient Egypt lies a world rich not only in monumental architecture and grand tombs, but also in the intricate artistry of personal adornment. Jewelry. These small, exquisite objects, often overlooked in the shadow of colossal pyramids and massive statues, carry with them stories encoded in their shapes, materials, and motifs. They are far more than mere decoration. They are cryptic messages, talismans, and silent witnesses to beliefs and secrets that science still struggles to fully unravel. Imagine holding a delicate pendant crafted over 4,000 years ago. The cool weight of the gold, shaped into a lotus flower or an ankh, sparkles faintly in the dim light. Embedded within the fine filigree and inlaid with stones such as turquoise, carnelian, or lapis lazuli, these pieces appear at first glance as beautiful adornments fit for the gods and pharaohs. Yet, beneath their aesthetic allure lies a language both complex and subtle, one that speaks of protection, power, and cosmic order. Ancient Egyptian jewelry was not simply worn for ornamentation. It functioned as a potent form of communication, a bridge between the earthly realm and the divine. Each symbol carved or cast into gold, each bead threaded into a necklace, was chosen with intent. The scarab beetle, for example, was a ubiquitous motif, symbolizing rebirth and the eternal cycle of the sun. The Eye of Horus, another common emblem, was believed to ward off evil and grant healing. But beyond these familiar icons, many pieces incorporate cryptic patterns and combinations that remain only partially understood. Recent scientific analyses, employing microscopic imaging and chemical tests, have revealed remarkable craftsmanship and complex manufacturing methods. Gold was often alloyed with trace metals to achieve specific hues and properties, while stones were sourced from distant regions, indicating wide-ranging trade networks and specialized knowledge. Even more intriguing is the discovery of hieroglyphic inscriptions and miniature reliefs engraved onto jewelry, sometimes so tiny they require magnification to discern. These minute inscriptions suggest that jewelry served as portable texts or amulets, conveying prayers or spells tailored to the wearer's needs. Yet despite the extensive cataloging of symbols and their meanings, puzzling questions endure. Why do some pieces feature unusual iconography, blending symbols in ways that defy conventional interpretations? Could these combinations represent coded messages, secret knowledge accessible only to initiates or the elite priesthood? Some Egyptologists propose that jewelry functioned as a form of esoteric language, a private script woven into the very fabric of daily life and ritual practice. If so, much of this language remains locked in silence, awaiting decipherment. One of the more enigmatic examples lies in the discovery of composite amulets that merge animal, celestial, and abstract forms. These hybrid motifs challenge the neat categories of Egyptian symbolism. For instance, a necklace might depict a falcon intertwined with serpentine figures and solar discs, a confluence of imagery associated with gods like Horus, Wadjet, and Ra. What message was intended in such a convergence? Was it protective, a declaration of power, or perhaps an encoded mythological narrative? The layering of meanings here suggests a sophistication beyond mere symbolism, a multi-dimensional dialogue between wearer, deity, and universe. The placement of jewelry on the body also appears significant. Certain amulets were crafted to be worn near the heart or throat, locations considered vital for sustaining life force and speech. Others adorned the hands or wrists, possibly to invoke protection or strength in action. Some funerary pieces were buried with the deceased, intended to accompany them into the afterlife, safeguarding their journey and ensuring resurrection. These practices hint at a belief system where jewelry was not static ornamentation, but an active participant in spiritual transformation. Moving from the realm of verified scholarship to more speculative territory, some researchers have posited that certain jewelry pieces might encode astronomical or calendrical knowledge. Patterns found on bracelets or collars occasionally align with star constellations or lunar cycles, suggesting an ancient awareness of celestial rhythms embedded within personal artifacts. Could these adornments have functioned as wearable maps or timekeeping devices, linking the wearer to the cosmos? While tantalizing, such theories remain debated, with skeptics cautioning against overinterpretation. Other fringe hypotheses delve into the idea that jewelry contained concealed scientific knowledge, such as principles of sacred geometry, or even acoustics. The recurring use of proportions and shapes aligned with mathematical constants raises questions about whether artisans deliberately encoded cosmological truths in their creations. Some propose that the arrangement of beads or pendants could produce subtle sound vibrations or resonances, potentially used in ritual healing or communication. Although evidence for acoustic properties in jewelry remains minimal, the possibility illustrates the depth of mystery surrounding these objects. Even the sourcing of materials feeds into the enigma. The lapis lazuli adorning many royal pieces was mined thousands of kilometers away in what is now Afghanistan. Carnelian came from the deserts of the Eastern Desert or further afield. Such extensive trade implies not only economic exchange, but also a transfer of cultural and spiritual ideas, possibly influencing the symbolic language embedded in jewelry. How did these far-flung connections shape the development of amuletic motifs? Did the meaning of certain stones shift depending on their origin or context? These questions underscore the interconnectedness of ancient Egypt with a wider ancient world still partly hidden beneath the sands. Archaeological finds also hint at the social dimension of jewelry mysteries. While pharaohs and nobles adorned themselves with the most elaborate pieces, jewelry was widespread across classes, from priests to craftsmen to ordinary citizens. Did common people comprehend the symbolic complexity? Or did meaning concentrate among elites? Some suggest that certain amulets functioned as social markers or even secret signs of affiliation to particular cults or mysteries. This raises the question: was jewelry a public display, a private talisman, or both simultaneously? In several tombs, jewelry caches have been found deliberately arranged in patterns that defy random placement. These configurations might reflect ritual formulas or protective arrays. Modern techniques like 3D scanning and spatial analysis are now being applied to investigate these arrangements, seeking to decode possible hidden structures or symbolic geometries. Could the way jewelry was stored or displayed hold clues as important as the pieces themselves? One cannot ignore the psychological and emotional aspects of ancient jewelry either. Personal adornments often carry a sense of identity and memory. For a pharaoh, an amulet might embody divine favor. For a mother, a pendant might invoke protection for her child. Jewelry can be seen as a medium connecting individual experience with universal forces, a tangible interface between mortal and divine. This intimate dimension invites us to consider not just what the objects represented outwardly, but how they were lived and felt. Despite the impressive progress in understanding the cultural and religious context of Egyptian jewelry, many layers of mystery persist. New discoveries frequently raise more questions than answers, revealing an ever-deepening complexity. What secrets remain encoded in those tiny hieroglyphs and entwined motifs? Could we, with our modern eyes and minds, ever fully grasp the symbolic languages that thrived in a world so different from ours? As we continue this exploration, we must recognize that the mystery of ancient Egyptian jewelry is not a puzzle neatly solved, but an ongoing dialogue across millennia. Each piece invites us to slow down, to observe carefully, and to embrace the unknown. In the shimmer of gold, in the gleam of stones, in the silent language of form and symbol, there is a story still whispering, waiting for those willing to listen, interpret, and wonder. As we leave behind the enigmatic mirror that refused to reflect, a silent defiance in the heart of a royal chamber, the journey leads us deeper still, into a place untouched by light or breath for over 3 millennia. Here, in the shifting sands beyond the better-known necropolises, lies another chapter of Egypt's long, mysterious story. In a secluded valley on the fringes of Abydos, where cliff walls rise like broken tablets against the sky, there exists a tomb that has never been opened. Its entrance is buried beneath centuries of rockfall, deliberately concealed, perhaps by time, or perhaps by design. Yet it is not the tomb's physical inaccessibility that stirs the most intrigue. It is the stories, the whispers, the accounts passed down by generations of locals and echoed by a handful of scholars that speak of sounds, subtle, low, rhythmic, heard near the sealed entrance when the wind moves just right. They call it the Tomb of the Whispering Priests. The tomb itself was first documented in the 1930s by an Egyptian surveyor named Kamel el-Sayed, who noted unusual architectural remnants protruding from the base of a narrow wadi. Cracked basalt paving stones, arranged in a pattern unlike any seen nearby, hinted at a ceremonial platform. Fragments of limestone carved with obscure inscriptions, fragmentary but legible, referred to a group known as the Hekau Netjer, loosely translated as Words of the God. Initially dismissed as poetic homage to temple scribes or priestly orders, the phrase gained more weight after the 1967 rediscovery of temple records at El Karga Oasis, where the same title was linked to a special class of ritual specialists, those who preserved spoken incantations too sacred to be written. These priestly voices, it was said, were not recorded on scroll or stone, but etched in the ether. Their role was to speak, to chant, to protect the spiritual balance, and to guard certain knowledge meant for no mortal eyes. But how does this connect to a tomb? Why would a structure intended for death be associated with living voices? Modern archaeological teams, including a brief satellite imaging survey conducted in 2014, confirmed that beneath the ridge lie a series of chambers cut into the bedrock. Ground-penetrating radar detected voids, one large central hall flanked by narrow corridors. Unusual acoustic echoes were noted during subsurface scanning, a kind of resonance that didn't match expectations. Researchers initially assumed variations in the stone density, but some couldn't help but note the phrasing in local oral histories that the tomb speaks when the earth sighs. Such stories might have been ignored, folklore clinging to ancient stones, had they not been repeated with such consistency. Shepherds passing through the wadi after dark, foreign travelers in the early 20th century, and even military patrols during the 1973 war all reported hearing faint sounds, a murmur, a chant, a pulsing rhythm. Some described it as a chorus without language. Others swore they heard actual words in archaic Egyptian, too fast to follow, but unmistakably human. Of course, science offers possibilities. Natural acoustics, echo chambers, pressure changes in fractured rock. All of these could explain low-frequency phenomena. Certain geological formations are known to produce infrasound, which can evoke a sense of presence or unease. Could the tomb's unique architecture be shaping environmental sounds into patterns our brains interpret as voices? Or is it something else entirely? The inscriptions near the presumed tomb entrance offer curious clues. While partial and weathered, several contain atypical hieroglyphic groupings. A recurring image, a closed mouth with 3 lines emanating from it, does not appear in standard lexicons. Some interpret it as an unknown phonetic or magical symbol. Others suggest it represents sound as a force, a literal manifestation of spoken power. More provocatively, a slab discovered nearby, now housed in the Cairo Museum, features what appears to be an early sound diagram, a rare artifact showing wave-like lines emerging from the throat of a kneeling priest. Scholars debate its meaning. Is it metaphor, ritual instruction, or something more advanced, a symbolic representation of vibration, resonance, or even sonic manipulation? This brings us to the edges of speculation. In recent decades, a fringe theory has emerged, proposing that some Egyptian structures may have been designed with acoustic properties in mind. The King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, for instance, has long been noted for its strange resonances. Could the tomb of the Whispering Priests reflect a similar principle? Might it have been engineered to amplify certain frequencies, to preserve chants that resonate perpetually, long after human voices have ceased? This idea, while lacking firm evidence, finds an echo in a 1999 study by acoustician Tom Danley, who explored resonant frequencies in ancient sites. He proposed that certain chambers might act as standing wave generators, capable of sustaining vibrations for extended periods. Could the sounds near the tomb be remnants of such rituals? Not ghostly voices, but echoes of a designed acoustic phenomenon? A more mystical interpretation, one shared in whispers among a few Egyptologists and independent researchers, suggests that the tomb was never meant to be opened, that its purpose was not burial, but containment, not of a person, but of knowledge, or something far less tangible. The voices, in this view, are warnings, echoes of the priest's eternal vigil, recitations not meant to be heard but to remain sealed away, vibrating endlessly in the dark. Could this explain the lack of a known occupant? No sarcophagus, no named cartouche, no record in any temple annals. If this was indeed the final resting place of a powerful priesthood, why such secrecy? Why such effort to conceal it entirely? It's worth noting that several nearby tombs, smaller, known, excavated, have been found curiously empty, their contents removed with surgical precision. No signs of looting, no broken seals, just silence, as if their treasures had been relocated or never placed there at all. Were these decoys, part of a greater ritual architecture meant to deflect attention from a central, hidden truth? We may never know. The tomb remains unopened, its contents, if any, untouched. Plans to excavate have stalled for decades due to logistical challenges, political unrest, and, some say, an unspoken reluctance among archaeologists. A sense that certain doors, once opened, can never be closed again. And so the tomb of the whispering priests waits, beneath the sand, beneath centuries of silence. Yet still, according to some, it speaks. What it says, and whether we are meant to hear it, remains a question not only of science, but of belief. What truths lie sealed in that forgotten chamber? Are they echoes of the past, or warnings for the future? The sands do not answer, but they remember, and the whispers, whether real or imagined, continue.